It's like freaking they don't like all that warmness and freaking going out on the beach and getting a tan and shit.
What's today's temperatures? I know it's late now, so what's 9 degrees centigrade now, according to this?
9 degrees.
But yeah, it was
never gets that cold
about
A cold day here is like 25.
13 to 14 degrees centigrade.
Yeah, that's fucking cold, brass.
Yeah, it's warmish. It's not cold. It's
Pump it up.
warm.
You know, more global warming, I say.
It's freaking cold.
Here it's like, you know, a hot day would be like 35 and a cold day would be like 25.
According to this, next Tuesday will be 20 degrees centigrade.
How much?
20 degrees.
Oh, well, that's
So,
nice. I like 20.
Yeah.
20 is all right.
21, 20.
That's not justification for blocking out the fucking sun.
I know.
That's what I'm trying to say. You guys aren't listening. I'm like, freaking English people are like that. They love that freaking gloomy.
Nah, man.
That's their comfort zone.
This isn't the English people. This is Bill Gates and his crazy fucking globalist agenda. Like, this is like they've been whispering about that for years now. I remember seeing articles about that like 2-3 years ago, and now they're finally fucking doing it. Dude, I bet they won't stop there either. If they get away with it,
you can blame Gates for a lot of things, okay? But like in this situation, you got to understand what English people are. They are freaking weirdos, dude. Okay.
I just saw a picture of King Charles, and he looks like a blood-drinking vampire, man. Straight up.
Exactly. That's my whole point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I guarantee
Monarch as well.
Well,
what?
I mean,
yeah, well, not by choice.
How many
We're an occupied nation.
How many English people are pissed off because the sun's out and it's shining? It's warm.
The thing with English people is they love to complain, and if they don't have anything to complain about, they get miserable. You know.
And whether is talking about whether it's sort of opening sort of sentences.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
you go out, you say hello to your next door neighbour. Nice weather we're having today. It always starts like that.
Sure. That's crazy. Now they always.
Did you say lovely weather?
Yeah, nice, but lovely, bad, crap weather.
Yeah, that's right. Don't you think, especially Londoners, they love complaining more than they like saying things are good? Well, to be fair, things are bad, but yeah.
That's why
Londoners don't talk to each other.
When you said that they feel miserable if they're not complaining, I'm like, no, if they stop complaining, they would actually be positive and happy and in a good mood. But
I'm always in a good mood.
They've never tried it, so they don't even know.
Huh? Aren't I usually positive? Generally speaking, occasionally.
Well, sometimes, as long as we're not having like a serious conversation, yeah.
They can be positive when we have serious conversations.
Oh,
well,
do it then. Challenge accepted. Do it.
I did.
Well, I don't really want to get involved in this bet.
Nah, to be fair, I tend to talk about negative shit a lot too, but I do it because I want to bring awareness about it mainly.
No, you are negative because you're Australian.
I'm not negative. I'm actually an optimist in general, but I do delve into a lot of seemingly negative topics. So.
Well, you gotta go there. Like, I mean, look, dude, freaking, I was the one that came up, like you said, with the topic of Moloch. You know what I mean? And then my last episode of this one was freaking the internet is a scam, or that was the freaking, you know, I mean,
I'd be happy to make some more images for your thumbnails if you need in the future. Like,
Okay.
Yeah, that's cool. And I took I think it was 4 of the songs that you made to make a 4-minute music thing instead of it looping over and over again. So,
Yeah.
so that whenever freaking we step away to do something, freaking it'll have like a variety of music.
Yeah.
oh, yeah.
Again and again and again.
Does it
and
need to
again.
be royalty-free music that you play?
Of course. Of course.
Well,
Boy,
you know what? You know what's the best thing to do is just leave royalty free on.
DMCA.
Just do your AI stuff, and if you want to do that, you know.
Making
well,
sure that
I
you
just
do on
wire
the
it all
device.
out, you know. Rumble
Aye.
doesn't care.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Uh,
it would be good to be able to share it on all the platforms too. You know, I don't even know for sure what Kick's, how Kick will respond to any of that even, but I don't really give a shit.
well, I would think they would go down the same route as mines, unless there's a DMCA complaints made. They're going to ignore it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a grey area. 'Cause I made a cover of a song and I changed the lyrics, but the melody is pretty much the same. Maybe with a bit more dubsteppy bass, but
Yeah.
that's a new song, right?
That's a grey area because chords.
This is the negativity we're talking about here, Mark. This is the negativity we're talking about.
The English like pessimistic. He's pessimistic.
I'm just trying to stay on the right side of the law.
See, I'm an optimist. I don't think they're going to catch me.
What do they call that?
Until they do.
I saw that freaking Catch Me If You Can. Remember that one?
Yeah.
What's the name? He was a freaking con man, and he was running from place to place, and they could never catch up to him.
Yeah.
What's the old saying? If you can't do the time, don't do the crime.
Wow. All I've got is time, so.
Okay. Fair enough.
If I had to go to jail, I think I'd have a great time. I would just relax and read and chill and meditate.
Well, I could say something, but I won't even go down that way.
Don't go to jail.
I'm just thinking soap in the shower.
No, I'm not going to jail. They'll never catch me.
Now, now we have some issues that I got to clear up real quick before I start because my Blender, okay, I'm doing renders and stuff, and like I'm really low on gigabytes, so everything wants to slow down. So I'm in the process.
RAM or
memory. Memory. I got 2 terabytes of memory, and I'm down to like.
Are you rendering right now?
Oh, you mean storage? Not memory, storage.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah, because memory could mean either or.
Memory is RAM, yeah.
Oh no, memory could be storage, couldn't it? Because
I suppose, yeah.
Always memory, yeah. So yeah, he's confusing us with.
You guys are. I'm trying to get freaking the Blender to stop, but it's because right now I was just in the middle of editing.
You've only got one machine to play around with, huh? So.
Yeah, well, it's all right. I can multitask on this one, which is.
How much RAM have you got?
2 16 terabytes or 16 gigabytes.
Jeez, that's rough. Man. You should get a bit more RAM. Get like
not necessarily for what you do. I think 16 would be more than suitable.
Dude, if you got 64 gigabytes of RAM, you'll never look back. It's the best thing.
Not for that purpose. It's a bit of a race.
I've got
a machine here that I've got 64 megs in, but I'm used to that as a virtual machine, so I split up machines,
I got that too. I got a Proxmox server with 64, and that's handy. But I also have it on my laptop, and it's just so much faster. My other laptop's got 39, and I multitask with a lot of apps, and it still runs out of RAM sometimes.
Again, Ria asked me about this the other day, and I just went down and said, well, I point out all the machines I've got in this place, and just went through a list of and I just reminded her that it's all about use case scenarios, depending on your use case. I mean, if you're just looking at a browser and using Microsoft Word and looking at Facebook, you don't need 64 gigs of RAM.
Yeah.
The more the merrier. I would have 128.
No. Back in my retail technical days, when I was doing technical support for retail, I used to get lots of kids coming, oh, I want the biggest and fastest machine. And then when you ask them about what they are using it for, you realise that they're only going to use the machine for half the abilities.
Yeah, but we're not kids, Mark. We're power users.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's talking about gamers and stuff in particular. Yeah. They like to.
Yeah. Well, you need a good graphics card for that, for sure.
But it depends on what games you play. I play a lot of point-and-click adventures. I don't need a good graphics card.
Well, now you're getting into a touchy subject because, like, you're old, dude. Okay, I'm old. Now we're talking about 16-year-old kids. Okay, these kids freaking play games that aren't like just, you know what I mean? Like the games they play are pretty sophisticated.
Yeah, and the graphics are pretty power hungry. But
I've just started modifying.
I don't even play games, and I need like a shit ton of RAM just to run, my chat apps, a couple of browsers with a bunch of tabs, my coding stuff.
Yeah, no. That suggests to me that you've got a very unoptimized configuration.
Well, right now I'm using 29 gigabytes of RAM just idling. Yeah.
Oh, that definitely tells me you got a very unoptimized machine.
Well, I am on Kali Linux. It's probably not as
irrelevant. Remove half of the services that you aren't using.
It's the browsers, man. My browsers take a freak ton of RAM for some reason. Normally I'm around 9 gig, of RAM usage if I shut all most of my apps down.
Going to Firefox and Chromium browsers
especially Rumble. I find if I'm on a 24-hour stream on Rumble, it goes up to like 1 to 2, sometimes 3 gigabytes, depending how long I've been running it for.
And as far as I could see, a lot of the browsers issues not really RAM related, it's more CPU issues. I mean, take mine as an example. I've had this GitLab ticket open for 4 years now in relation, when you, especially if you use Firefox and you scrolling through a load of news feeds on mine, and you have this pop-up saying your browser slowed down. I did a little experiment using many different configurations, using 3-4 different machines a couple of years ago, and looking at the sort of performance to stability sort of thing when using mines. And I've got an entire report on the GitLab ticket.
There's times where it tells me that the internet was disconnected on mines, and freaking I'm like, dude, are you serious? It's like, because it's not disconnected, but that's what it reads on the platform. It'll give me a notification saying check your internet.
I noticed that on Abyss Cafe. There's quite often a weird little pop coming up saying something on the similar sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. It's really weird. No. Yeah. Okay, I finally got in there. I'm going to post on Skype to Roger's Real Time Talk Show for the link if anybody wants to come in there. And then I guess I could share it.
Share what?
The link if anybody wants to come in with us.
Can you give me the actual Rumble link in the chat? I'll share that so people can tune in.
Okay,
the same. The actual viewing.
Yeah,
if you go to your Rumble account and you go in there, you can repost it and you can get the share link too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and the thing about it is that you can actually repost our stream on your freaking wall and choose which channel you want to go on.
I don't know how to spell Pretoria.
just click on my avatar, or on my avatar, and then go to go to my main page, and it'll show you all the channels I've.
Oh.
Nah, the avatar thing doesn't work from here.
That's just for purpose of spelling, it's PIAETORIAN.
Oh, AE.
IAN.
Okay, I got it.
Now, V said he might want to come in today, so I'm sending him a message.
Okay. Yeah, I saw that.
How do you?
If V comes,
how do you repost?
Mr. Robot will fall in love with him.
Yeah, you mentioned that yesterday as well.
Repost.
Now, Dave. I'm trying to bait Dave into coming into one of these episodes too. So, hopefully.
Yeah, he said
what's the topic today?
Huh?
What's the topic today we're going to talk about?
Today is going to be.
We had a list in the Matrix, and we'll do the telescope, so-called distant live.
I've got
the Webb telescope.
What telescope?
The Webb, James Webb.
Okay.
Oh, James Webb.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say about that other than it's pretty cool.
Well, there's a planet, dude.
Which one?
There's a planet they just discovered.
I thought they're discovering
discovered it. They discovered it in 2009.
Is it a new one? Like, is it nearby or something, or what?
It's an exoplanet, so it's outside of our solar system. I can't remember. It's something like 7,000 light years away or something.
I'm going in there now. I had to freaking post the topic to B so he could do it. I'll put it in the chat area so that everybody has it in here. I hope it's not too long. Did it come up there?
Where?
On the side chat, did it show up?
Not on this side.
Sorry, I got the link now. So.
Oh yeah, okay.
No, it's not showing up.
God, it's warm in here. Actually.
I am able to see the freaking link, the chat. No live chats yet. Okay. Oh. Maybe that'll do it. Nope. Wait a minute. I'm streaming, so that should actually be happening, man.
Are we live?
Yeah, it's actually streaming. All this since we were talking about the weather in England is being there.
Hello, folks. Welcome. There's always like a little bit of dead time at the beginning, but maybe you should introduce the topics. Again.
Why don't you go ahead and just keep on having a conversation, and then when I get things straight, we can do that. Yeah, what up?
I thought you said we were already live.
Well, we are live, but like
This is our daytime.
This is our dead time, like you said. I'm trying to like actually get the topic and share the stream and everything. I'll do the countdown. Okay. I'll do the countdown and I'll let you do the introduction. Sound good?
I shared the stream on Hacker Radio and on Tinfoil Hat Club on Element.
Freaking I need to be careful too because I got the riot act yesterday for acting all rebellious and shit. I don't want that stuff.
Hardly.
I got laid into like you wouldn't believe, dude.
You are being melodramatic.
That's how you know you're being effective. You know, that's how you know you're being effective.
Oh yeah, I was very effective yesterday. That right there was. Thank goodness it wasn't on stream because I mean people would have gotten a bad.
Oh, did you edit that video? You going to edit it, or are you still in the process?
Yeah, I'm getting it edited. It was only like maybe a couple minutes.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
It felt like freaking an eternity because like right then and there, all of a sudden I was thinking, oh shit. And then it was like an auto response. I went to YouTube and bam, the freaking video I deleted it. So I'm getting good.
YouTube deleted it?
No, I did it.
Like
I'm getting right up on it, and I keep forgetting, that I need to be careful when I go into live stream with people because this time it was like an automatic response. Bam! I went in there and I deleted the freaking live stream as it was going on. So
even though YouTube seems to have taken a bit of a backseat on that subject recently.
Well, until I get freaking verification, I don't believe nothing.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay. So, are we going to talk about the Pope today as well? Is that what? Yeah. Is that one of the other?
Yes. I was wanting to freaking post the subject into the chat, but it wouldn't let me do it. So,
your Wall Street Journal reference, I couldn't view it because it was behind the paywall.
The Wall Street Journal one.
Yeah.
They're probably trying to milk all you.
Okay, well, I found better material anyway. I found the entire cool docket.
Yeah, I've seen that. I mean that, dude.
Did he even browse through document 1033?
No, those dude. If I was to download all those PDFs, it would freaking bog my.
Most of those PDFs are very short. They're just memorandums and little comments. Really, it's really the orders that are more important.
Okay. Well, so far we have everything set up and ready to go. It looks like I put out the notifications on Skype. I'm going to post them on X. I guess I could do it on Minds. Do you guys want me to? Because
I don't mind. You're not going to get any traction on that. Not on a.
I reckon post it later. Post it on Minds afterwards.
I mean, if you wanted to do that, I would have suggested that you published a link, the reference about a week ago.
I wouldn't have done it.
Yeah. You don't expect last minute sort of things. I criticize the staff for doing such things in the past.
I mean, I don't even like posting it a week ahead of time, dude. Like here for a little while, if you guys want to mute out, you can. Mark Edwards definitely going to do it, but I'm going to do my 15-minute music thing so I can smoke a cigarette, we can get coffee started, and then we can start the stream.
Okay, much for making the coffee.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Now, Mr. Robot is the one who's going to do the introduction, I believe.
I don't know if that's a good idea because I don't have a great grasp on the discussing.
Just do the introduction. You do good.
All right.
You do good.
Don't forget about the music, Roger.
Oh, Mark, you're the guy in the pictures. Okay.
Yeah.
Thumbnails that Roger puts up. Okay.
Yeah, and the bloke with the actual picture that he uses all the time, which scares the shit out of me.
You look rather, I wouldn't say intimidating, but you look very concerning. The picture. Sure.
Indeed.
Serious
like you're definitely on a government watch list.
Yeah, I've been telling him that.
Yeah.
He's our token rule follower.
Okay.
I'll leave will follow. I just know the law. I just know various elements of law and legislation.
He knows how to walk the line.
No, I get confused. How many shows is there that he has? I mean, there's the Gaming with Infamous, and then this is Untethered.
This Untethered tech talk that we do on Thursdays. Is Wonderful World of Weirdness. Then,
And
Okay.
4 or 5.
sorry about that. Yeah, I forgot to upload the break music. So yeah, but yeah, he's right. Mark's telling you the facts. We're on all the time. If you ever want to come on, too. By the way.
Well, I've officially retired my show, so I don't know. I might start up again one of these days, but for right now, I'm definitely. I like being a guest more than like being a host, I would say. So I'm always jumping from show to show to show to show.
Well, like I said, if you want to come on, you can, because I enjoy talking to you. I don't get very much time to do it. So if you ever want to come on the show, just come on,
Well, I gotta get the schedule down.
Well, 5 p.m. usually is all my time. It's just Central Time is usually when I do mine.
5 p.m. Central.
Yeah.
Okay. Like on Wednesdays and Thursdays?
The only days I don't really stream is Monday and Tuesday, and those are my gamer days. Those are when I become infamous OG 1973.
Okay.
Right. So, but even on those days, you can probably get in touch with me too. So
yeah, I gotta hop in there. Me and my better half, we're gonna start up a channel. Basically, it's gonna be me explaining Warhammer 40K to her while I play modded games that cover the subject of the show. So I've got like Space Marine mods for Doom. Yeah, so you put the different monster mods in there, that might look like different factions, and so
you better be careful. You're gonna get Mark Edworthy excited. He's really into that.
Oh yeah! Actually, weirdly enough, I did a couple of months ago buy the entire complete set of first Dawn of War. Dawn of War series.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I have very little time to play anything at the moment. To be fair.
Yeah, I love Warhammer 40K. I've been a fan since I was in junior high.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interested in the lore rather than the tabletop then. Tabletop bores me, but that goes back to my dad. My dad's was a professional figure modeler, so he used to create 1-2 inch figures for and paint them for military old military sort of war games. So
Yeah.
reenacting things like Waterloo and stuff.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Some people think I'm just obsessed with warfare. It's like, yeah, well, I grew up in a military household. I've joined the military myself. Uh, I know martial arts, trained and self-taught. Football. It's like my entire life has just been a battlefield. Of course, my media is filled with nothing but warfare. Are you guys not on the Skype/Teams?
No.
I am. Me and Roger is, but
I tried to stay away from monitored chats because of the things that happen to you.
Well, see, these people want to monitor me. I do my best to put on a show for them. That's my attitude about it. You want to watch me? I'm going to give you something to see.
I want to just be able to burn my identity and start again if I have to,
I became the vaudeville, okay? I actor upon a stage.
But yeah, I got chats dedicated to like fringe conspiracy, topics, and I got ones that are dedicated to like proper in-depth research topics from science to history to all sorts. And then I got various tech channels that are like reverse engineering dedicated, malware.
Oh, my friend, you and I are going to get along just fine.
Yeah. So I'd love to be in contact.
Yeah. Has Roger told you about my show? I was the host of the Red Pill Hardcore Radio Show. I've actually been at several different radio stations, different radio networks.
I think I tuned into that one time. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I might start up the show again if I could find a suitable co-host. I've trained many co-hosts over the years, hoping I can find someone to take over my show. It's just, I've never found the one that could do it, So,
well, what do you think the role of a co-host should be?
Well, I mean, the way I treat my co-host is it's basically who can drive the show. The show's got to keep going. It doesn't matter who's leading, who's supporting. I've had entire shows where my co-hosts are just going off. I'm like, speak it, sisters. Go ahead.
I like to be the one that's sort of like background doing the fact checking and like pulling up research and pictures and videos and that kind of stuff.
So. I do my own research. I basically it's like what you probably do here. It's just like paneling, No, I don't have co-host research this, do that. Whatever. I actually pull everything up fresh. Like, what do you think?
As you go,
not knowing anything. What do you think?
Yeah, but I find sometimes it's hard to like do the visuals while you do the talking. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
But yeah, some people are good at it.
I was going to say,
I usually have a producer.
I was just going to say, co-host, and it's also related to banter and keeping the conversation flowing, even if you in between guests and stuff.
Roger's good at that.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't even have to agree with me. I like. It's rare that I get controversy. Typically, people agree with me or have something to compliment what I say. Usually. But I like the shows where people disagree, and then we can sit and talk about the difference and what we know and try to find a middle ground. Those
Well,
are the
that's
best.
why we keep Mark around. He disagrees with everything I say.
Well,
so.
yeah, I like to stay on the rational sort of viewpoint,
Right.
more of a rationalist.
I think you mean misinformed.
The voice
Mark.
of reason and all the craziness.
Indeed, indeed.
All right. I like that.
I am back. It took a while for that song to come out, but later on we can probably do it if we want to take a break and everything. And I was thinking about it too. Now, it would be really nice to get an interview in with V. And if you wanted to, Mr. Robot, you want to do an interview?
Hell yeah. I want to know more about this stuff that's been happening to him.
Okay, so let me do a countdown. We'll start it out, and then after that, we'll go into the topics, because this is kind of like set up on how mine's roundtable was, but it's untethered, and we have topics and everything. With this one,
Are you cool to talk about that stuff, V, or?
We were talking about
you should set something up with me separate. I don't want to step on what you guys already got going.
No, man. Hey, this is good. Actually, because you were talking about wanting to do an interview with me too. Anyhow, so.
Well, yeah. I mean, you told me these guys like to talk tech, and it's like, well, when I did my shows, it was so hard to get anybody even close to the intellectual level of anything I was talking about. So I had to bring everything down to like a third grade level, and that just was time consuming and frustrating.
Yeah. So you guys cool with that?
Yeah.
I'd be happy to do it. That sounds like fun.
Okay. All right. And then after that we can, because this is the last one we did went like 5-6 hours. So it's these are long streams, so we can.
Yeah, we are going to need a break in between because last night was a killer.
Well, that was
good 6 hours, 5 hours.
I got reamed out.
And I got to talk to probably Mark. Mark would be my guy there. Maybe help me procure a English accent, because I have a movie role I got to do where I'm an Englishman here in a year.
English accent. I have had this discussion with Roger, and there is no such thing as an English accent. In the UK, we've got many accents. Like in the US, there's many different accents.
Yes.
Are you talking about Liverpudlian? Are you talking about...
Mark's got a middle-class English accent, If you want to go the pompous English, you probably need more like a Prince Charles more.
He's got a country boy accent. Like, you know how I got my country boy accent?
The only two accents I'm aware of, or the three, is the proper Queen's English, and then there's the Cockney, and then the Liverpool.
You need to learn to stop rolling your R's, I think, if you
Liverpool.
want
I love Liverpool accents, especially on chicks.
Oh yeah.
What you about, mate?
Newcastle. No. I hate Liverpool.
I'll put a link to our private chat in the chat there if you can see it, V. So just save it there for later.
But yeah, man, you're always welcome on here, man. And see, this is the reason why I was so glad frickin' V came on, because I knew you and V would just hit it off.
Hey guys, I got to step away for like 5 minutes, and I'll join you in the next segment.
All right. Now, this would be a good time. Let me go ahead and throw that 15-minute music on. You guys jump up and go get yourself a drink of coffee, use the bathroom, smoke a cigarette, whatever. Okay, Robot?
Okay, thanks, mate.
And then we'll be back, and we'll get down to the nitty-gritty, dirty stuff. Start talking about hot chicks and stuff like that. Sound good? Yeah, rebelled on me. It's like, shut up, Roger.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, let me put that music on. I made a video out of it instead of doing just regular music. That way I'll at least have a background.
Awakening from an epic dream, awakening from the long dark night. Awakening from history, awakening from duality. The liberation of the human soul to consciousness of the one and all. The activation of the sacred plan, the birthing of a new man, a new man. When the light within is revealed, all the pain and suffering shall be healed, and the truth of love is our destiny, living on the earth in peace and harmony. Awakening to new perceptions, awakening to the joy of life. Awakening to a new dimension, awakening to a paradise. The illusion of separation disappearing into unity, into the source of a high vibration, into the wonder of the mystery, a mystery. When the light within is revealed, all the pain and suffering shall be healed, and the truth of love is our destiny, living on the earth in peace and harmony. The Theophilus Thistler, the thistle sifter is sifting a sieve full of unsifted thistles. Thrust 3,000 thistles through the thick of his thumb. 3,000 thistles through the thick of his thumb. 3,000 thistles through the thick of his thumb. Theophilus Thistler, the thistle sifter is sifting a sieve full of unsifted thistles. Thrust 3,000 thistles through the thick of his thumb. 3,000 thistles. Mr. Robot rolled around and rolled round, and if Mr. Robot rolled around and rolled round, where is the round roll? Mr. Robot rolled around. Where is the round roll? Mr. Robot rolled round. Mr. Robot rolled round. Mr. Robot rolled round. And if Mr. Robot rolled and rolled round, and if Mr. Robot rolled around and rolled round, where is the round roll? Mr. Robot rolled round. Here is an exercise demonstrating the union of in at the end of words. Dividing and gliding and sliding and falling and brawling and sprawling and driving and driving and striving. Dividing and gliding and sliding and falling and brawling and sprawling and driving and driving and driving. Theophilus Thistler, the thistle sifter is sifting a sieve full of unsifted thistles. Plus 3,000 thistles through the thick of his thumb. Plus 3,000 thistles through the thick of his thumb. Plus 3,000 thistles through the thick of his thumb. Theophilus Thistler, the thistle sifter is sifting a sieve full of unsifted thistles. Plus 3,000 thistles through the thick of his thumb. 3,000 thistles. Mr. Robot rolled around and rolled round, and if hook when he hit the humming bee by the hunter who had horrible beetles in the human hall. I love to hear the horse's heart, iron hooves go hammer, 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 hammer on the easy highway. I hit my horse hard, I'm hurrying out to hunt up hoes. Theophilus Whistler, Theophilus Whistler, Theophilus Whistler, Theophilus Whistler, Theophilus Whistler, Theophilus Whistler, Theophilus Whistler. Theophilus Whistler, the thistle sifter, is sifting a sieve of unsifted thistles, plus 3,000 thistles through the thick of his thumb. 3,000 thistles through the thick of his thumb. Theophilus Whistler, thistle sifter.
Once the gods carved earth like a cosmic chessboard, Poseidon claimed Atlantis, his star-born accord. 10 twin suns, throne of Tridents waves at his command. Empire stretched from big stones to Mayan sand. Monolith stacked like Legos blocks no crane could lift. Sonic levitation, gods don't need pulleys or grit. Athena taught Athens, Hephaestus forged veins of gold, but Atlantis spires pierced heaven, stories untold. Aegis of virtue, divine blood pure in the veins. No egregious geodesic temples where starlight reigns, but mortality crept in, diluted the grace. Go turn to rust, hubris eclipsed the god.
Vessels of Atlantis, drowned in the deep. Poseidon's lost kingdom, where titans still sleep. From these to Tetragonical, the causation all has above, so below. Cosmic empire of laws and princes of plasma, their thrones now debris. Echoes of Atlantis, where gods walked the sea.
Watch the fall, saw vice crack the divine. Pyramids hummed warnings, but they ignored the signs. Sky split with fury, tsunami swallowed their pride. Atlantis sank screaming, but blueprints survive. Complex foundation, stones that defy modern math. 1,000-ton puzzle, gravity's aftermath. Scholars still baffled how they align the stars. They rode cosmic currents, breaching space-time's bars. Now divers chase shadows where crystal cities gleamed. AI scans the ocean, but truth a half-dream. Dream Freemasons whisper maps in their lodges of lore. Plato's Critias, a metaphor or a war.
Echoes of Atlantis, drowned in the deep. Poseidon's lost kingdom, where titans still sleep. From Giza to Teotihuacan, the co-attention all as above, so below. Cosmic empire of laws and princes of plasma, their thrones now debris. Echoes of Atlantis, where gods walk the sea.
They say Poseidon's seed still flows in our veins. In every megalith, every grid that restrains. The Dogon chart Sirius, temples guard the flame. But Atlantis tech, it's encoded in our DNA's frame. Zeus's verdict was fire, a flood in ice. Yet the Sphinx still stares, whispering sacrifice. Mortal minds crave power, but miss the design. True kings rule through resonance, not bloodline. Now decode the ruins, their psalms etched in stone. A star-born king's empire, now dust and bone. The hall of records buried neath Giza's cold gaze holds anti-gravity schematics from pre-flood days. Crystal engines hummed, organ fueled their might, till pride turned their frequencies dissonant blight. The Anunnaki fled, Mars colonies crumbled. Leviathan's bones in the Mariana rumbled. But Poseidon's ghost rides the Bermuda's mist. Evolve past the greed or drown in the abyss. Tsunamis taller than gods, crack continents like eggs. Jungles of Egypt drowned, turned to sand in Poseidon's regret. Mammals shrunk to lapdogs, skies choked by volcanic breath. Waves circled the globe thrice, 3 funerals for death. Up the piston, rode the arc of frequencies, not wood. Up tetrahedron's ziggurat where anti-grav pulses stood. While Atlantis sank, he spliced DNA and quantum seeds, stashed them in Göbekley's veins and Indus Valley reeds. Volcanic winter's curse, Zeus hit the reset, scorched the grids, erased the moon-ringed internet. Noah's not a shepherd, he's a star-born archivist, cracking hermetic scrolls in caves where mushrooms twist. The survivors crawl from mud with amnesiac eyes, built new gods from scrap metal and fallen skies. Now desert bones whisper prosper where cedars once soared. Man's just a ghost in Atlantis' holographic horde. The flood wasn't water, it was math. A codex purge, Enoch's nightmares digitized in the cosmic surge. As above, so below, the blueprint stays true. Rise from the ashes or drown in what's new. The flood wasn't water, it was math. A codex purge, Enoch's nightmares digitized in the cosmic surge. As above, so below, the blueprint stays true. Rise from the ashes or drown in what's you. Echoes of Atlantis drowned in the deep, the deep. Poseidon's lost kingdom where titans still sleep. From Giza to Tiahuanaco, their codes etched in awe. As above, so below, cosmic empire of lore. 10 princes of plasma, their thrones now debris. Echoes of Atlantis, where gods walk the sea. So when you see Stonehenge, Angkor Wat spire, know Atlantis lives in the quantum choir. The gods were myths, their mentors in code. Rise from the ashes, or repeat what they owe. They built the pyramids in 20 years, a block every 2 minutes. Hieroglyphs scream their pride, but not a how and what's written. Modern science scratches heads, these structures can't be mimicked. Copper tools, now scholars tripping, logic thinly stretched and twisted. Ran an obelisk, 1,000 tons dragged across the sand. Today's cranes can't lift a fifth, what force moved them by hand? Call the ancients primitive, yo, that's pure delusion. Physicists today need miracles to crack their fusion. The high priest of Kemet mapped the stars with precision, while modern minds stay chained to 3D prison. Land of the lost, esoteric Egypt, hidden with an allegorical crypt. Written in the language of symbolism, advanced knowledge cloaked in symbol living secrets that rewrite history's episode. As above, so below, the hermetic code. Key of life unlocks the heavenly abode. Conscious matrix, alchemy pyramid ode. The Sphinx wears water scars, a flood from ancient skies. Explosives crack the pyramids, no tombs, just hollow lies. Money stolen, nah, that's ego talk. A weak hypothesis, truths buried in the stars, encrypted in the myths. Sacred geometry, pagan songs, the roots of Christendom. Pythagoras knelt at their feet, Jesus learned the kingdom. Temples mirror Orion, Aztecs trace the same glow. Megalithic GPS, what's buried below. They split the lotus stem, hid wisdom at the core. Solomon's temple, just a copy of what came before. Land of the lost, esoteric Egypt, hidden wisdom, allegorical crypts. Written in the language of symbolism, advanced knowledge cloaked in symbol living secrets that rewrite history's episode. As above, so below, the hermetic code. Key of life unlocks the heavenly abode. Conscious matrix, alchemy pyramid ode. Iron to gold, alchemy's flame, they mastered the unseen. Telekinetic levitation, Mars dust in their genes. Critics laugh, aliens hat, but the proof's in the plasma. Why is the Dogon tribe no serious? Was a binary drama. Myths and metaphors, the truth's too bright to hold. Scattered in ruins worldwide, a map etched in gold. They call themselves Negeru, gods with cosmic ships. Gifted fire, math and law, then dipped beyond the eclipse. Now academia's gatekeepers mock what they can't measure. The scales of Ma'at weigh soul, not tech or treasure. The Zet Tepe dawned when gods walked as king. Left blueprints in Gobekli Tepe and the Nazca line. The Emerald Taylor's truth burns through the scholar's denial. We're echoes of starlight reclaiming our trial.
Stare at the sky, Feel the ache in your chest. That's ancestral memory. We're all cosmic guests. The pyramids home of him. Rising cold the divine. As above, so below. Till the world's realigned.
Land of the lost, esoteric Egypt. Truth's a spiral eternity. Written in a language of symbolism. Gods we've been missing.
Okay, I'm back. It took a second. I was actually just a few minutes short or late on that one. Sorry about that. Okay. So,
Hey guys,
what's up?
guys.
Yeah. Still there?
So my phone is dying. I don't know where my charger is, so I'm gonna have to skip out the rest of the episode.
Hey man, it was great having you for that interview.
All right.
Hey, do you see the link in the chat there, V?
Yes.
Are you on Rumble Studio?
Yes.
Yeah, copy that down. Come say hello, and then I'll invite you to all the other chats and stuff. And we can share notes and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out how to copy it.
You
tap
don't-
and
yes.
hold, maybe?
Yeah, he's on.
Roger, can you send it to me later?
Yeah, I can copy and paste it and send it on Skype for you because I'm on
Please.
Skype. So
Yeah, my phone's about to die.
I'm gonna put it in the PSEC chat.
Okay.
That way on.
All right, thanks guys. It was good meeting you, and talk to you soon.
Hey man,
All the best. Take care.
Thanks for coming in. That was a great interview.
Yeah. How long did we go for?
You guys.
I wasn't keeping track of time.
You guys.
An hour, 2 hours, something like that.
2.5 hours. I just realised that I was muted, but yeah, 2.5 hours.
Wow. Felt like no time. So what's our next topic, Roger?
Roger's just disappeared.
Oh. Well, what do you want to talk about next? I had a look on his agenda, and we have a few options. Where is it? The Webb telescope detects a possible signature of life on a distant world. The judge on tech monopoly. Just before Zuckerberg bought Instagram, he identified a now defunct social startup known as Facebook. I feel like we've talked about that a fair bit.
Well, we haven't talked about it on the show yet, so that's the cool part about it. See, we've done the conversation in chat, but we've never done it on stream. This is
Didn't
where
we just have a whole thing on DARPA and Facebook and all that?
Well, that was Tech Talk, and we actually got more in depth. This one is just about the monopoly.
Okay.
So
yeah,
and
that's why I gave you that link to all those that call term, those called records earlier.
And we're talking about current events that are taking place too. Which
well, I'm interested in this Webb telescope thing. I don't know much about. I haven't come across that news yet. I'm about to look at it now.
Okay.
Now, Mark actually has his opinions on it. He actually said he wanted to make some comments on that. So I think we should start it out with him talking about it because get his take on it first.
Okay. As far as I can see, all the mainstream media, all the medias are saying possible signatures of life, which I totally fundamentally disagree with. There is a exoplanet that's found that's been discovered, or that was discovered in 2009, and it's only just been now talked about. I think it's about 7,000 light years. So I don't know what's that in actual miles. I did have numbers earlier, but I've lost them. But yeah, as I said, various.
You gotta start over. Your voice just died out.
Oh.
Yeah,
okay.
Your mic went out. Various what?
Sorry, mine's one there. Okay. Yeah. Okay. The James Webb Telescope detected a planet that potentially contains water and possibly methane on it. So that does suggest there is a possibility of not a signature of life, but a possibility for the conditions to allow for life. I know it's a very slight, small difference, but there is a distinction there.
Yeah. Well, what did they say? Sulfur-based molecules called dimethyl sulfide, which on Earth are only produced by life, primarily maritime phytoplankton. So it is a signature for life, to be honest.
It's a signature for condition, as you said, on Earth.
Yeah.
Who knows what?
What they're saying is, we have noticed that life produces it here, so possibly it can do it elsewhere.
Right.
So it is one of the signatures of life.
I think you're making a very large leap there between the possibility of
see, he's getting excited. His mic's starting.
Can you put my screen back up, Roger? I'll show him the article.
Yeah,
I've read various articles anyway. So,
well, I want to add to that too, because you actually hit on some good points, and the article that I read on was off of freaking Science and Nature. And they actually did a pretty good article on it. They said that they mentioned some of the stuff that you mentioned, but they also added that there's a chance that these signs that they're getting, because what they have to do is they don't actually visualize the planet, and I think a lot of people get a misconception of that, because when they see these photos from NASA, they think that they're the actual things, and they're not. Those are actually artists who draw those photos, and they use them, but what they actually do is they take the telescope and they aim it at a sun, and they wait for shadows to go through it, and the way they determined what chemicals were found on that planet is they looked at the difference in the coloring coming off of that shadow with the backdrop of the sun behind it, when it's in between the telescope, Earth, and the sun. So that's how they do it. And what they said was this could indicate water. It could indicate, but it could also indicate a planet that has liquid lava all over it, for example. Mm-hmm. So the one thing that does tie it in is what Mr. Robot was saying when he was talking about the compounds there, but they said that the best thing to understand is just because that's the way it is on Earth doesn't mean that human or life is the only thing that actually creates those compounds. You know what I mean? We don't know that far ahead in technology to really determine that life is the only way that those compounds are created.
Wow, I can't imagine that it would be. They said it's a 0.3% chance that the findings are a fluke, but they also say that not only is the planet 124 light years away, it's got a star called a red dwarf, right? So that means it's older than our solar system. The sun has already exploded into a red dwarf. So the fact that it's older to me says that there has been more time for life to develop potentially, you know. It is a little bit cooler as well, so it's possible that it's more stable conditions for that kind of life, you know. So yeah, I think it's a potential.
Potential. But I was watching a Lotus Heaters video a couple of days ago, and I think I linked it to you. I mean, or referenced it in Matrix. After I saw it, where the commentator was looking at this same issue, bloke by the name of Bayou Dada, was died. And he pointed out that as far as we know, a red dwarf sun cannot, even though the planet is within the so-called Goldilocks zone. So,
well, they say this one is in the Goldilocks zone. Liquid water can exist at that distance.
But he mentioned that, as far as we know, there is red dwarfs cannot, because of radiation, cannot allow for life on planets within that area.
Now, it also goes on here to say, too, that the Earth, well, the planet actually, first of all, is named K218b. And the planet itself is 8 to 9 times more massive than what the planet Earth is. Now, what I've learned about it is in context of a planet that is our size, that would apply. But when it comes to bigger planets, that necessarily doesn't apply either. And they were also talking about the moon. What is it? The ice moon. This could also have a frozen top or something of that nature, which I believe
not necessarily HO2.
So fact check false mark. Red dwarfs emit less radiation than our sun, not more. So it could potentially create conditions where, you know, bacterial life would exist, like phytoplanktons and stuff.
Oh, he just fact checked you. Isn't that so?
Again,
I can't have Mark spreading misinformation around here.
Okay, again, it goes back to my point though. Conditions rather than potential conditions.
Well, yeah. You know, I mean, and like I said too, when it comes to this stuff, you can't really give a hard point fact that there's life that's been discovered on another planet, because there are other factors.
No, you can't. But when it quacks like a duck, you know, flies like a duck, and tastes like a duck, it probably is a duck, isn't it, Mark?
You've got to prove out that it definitely tastes and flies and quacks like a duck.
Yeah, they were actually talking about that. Like when they do their experiments, like that. They have to be more precise than the percentages when it comes to gambling, okay? And they were talking about that. So it's like before that, what they have to do is they have to be 99.999999% sure you know, that this is true before they can freaking come up with an agreement that there is actually signs of life on that planet. It's actually 99.999999, or no, just 5 nines.
Didn't they figure out that like mushroom spores can actually exist in space for really long periods of time?
No, I don't know about that. I've heard of bacteria being found on the inside of the satellite that was retrieved from the outer orbit, I believe.
That's right.
But,
And
again,
didn't they find some Mars rocks here that had like things that looked like bacteria, ancient bacteria on it, or something like that?
But that could come from Earth and got shot out into space, meteorites or something. But again, you were talking about in the
now you're dabbling
system.
in conspiracy theories, Mark.
Yeah.
Now,
we are talking about in the solar system here. We are talking about our own solar system here. We're not talking about.
Did he go blank again?
No, I'm sorry.
Okay. Now, I found out that right now they're at 97 or 99.7% sure, and that's not good enough for convincing scientists that this stuff is even there to be
99.7. I'd take a bet on that any day. I like those odds.
Then they said, let's say they get to 99.99999% sure that it is there. That doesn't tell you what's making those materials either.
Mark will still come out and say, yeah, but there's still a 0.00001% chance that there isn't life.
and yes, Earth does produce those materials, okay, for a certain kind of life, but that doesn't preclude that they're the only that there aren't other processes that exist that on these other planets, that are.
For that specific signature, they said it could also mean that there's a magma ocean over the planet, which means no life would exist there for sure.
Right. But it would be cool because then you'd be visiting a freaking planet like the one off of freaking Star Wars, and I think that's cool. So any way you look at it, I think that's going to be a pretty cool thing that they're going to be looking at. So go ahead.
Do you know about Francis Crick?
No. Tell me about Francis.
He is one of the guys that found out what the DNA double helix looks like. I can't remember the other scientist's name, but they basically looked at an X-ray of DNA and it looked like an X. And then they took LSD and they actually realized it was a double helix. They were the first ones to discover it. And they also realized that the conformation of DNA is actually so complex. There isn't enough in our historical record. Hasn't been enough time for it to naturally have formed here. Mm-hmm. All right, let that sink in. Like, they were the first ones to come up with this idea of panspermia, directed panspermia, which says that DNA had to have come from somewhere else for life to exist here. Now, if you follow that logic, it means that either DNA is accidentally being transported around the universe, or it is intentionally being transported around the universe. Mm-hmm. And if the latter is true, we have sort of like scientist aliens going around using planets as petri dishes for genetic experiments, long-term, million-year-long, genetic experiments, which makes a lot of sense to me, considering that it's the perfect environment to do such a thing. You can monitor how DNA evolves over time and develops in different conditions. That would create the perfect place to come back to and harvest DNA for potential uses on other planets that have those conditions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Again,
it just makes sense.
you make an assumption that life didn't begin on Earth. And if you say
This is
that,
not my assumption, Mark. This is the people who discovered DNA that came up with this theory. So
that's logically
a little bit of
speaking,
credence behind it.
if life that didn't exist on this planet, you could say life didn't exist on any other planet, which in probability they only exist on one planet. Therefore, how did that sound?
Look at the facts. Look at the facts, Mark. What have we learned in the last few years? All right, we've learned that there are spaceships going around our planet that we don't know where they come from. We don't know who's flying them, but we know we can't shoot them down, and they're going faster than anything we've ever seen before. At the same time, we've got government whistleblowers coming out in Congress saying, oh yeah, we have alien bodies, we have alien technology. All right, now if that is true, that means there is life out there. There's life here. So if aliens are here, there's aliens everywhere. All right, just by the sheer fact that we've discovered, like, we used to think the Earth was rare and like as a planet in the Goldilocks zone that can support life. But now that we can detect planets, we've found out that they're actually mega abundant throughout the universe, meaning there's a lot of surface area out there for life to exist. So just statistically, I mean, the chances are very, very high that there's a lot of life out there, you know? So
again, potential. And also, if there is life out there, how you making another assumption that these planets are billions of miles away, and that these beings, let's call them, have got the ability to actually travel billions of miles.
Hold up. I'm gonna give you guys some feedback on what Real Angel Espero said on Roger on Skype. His insight is this is all bullshit. I don't believe shit that NASA says. Here is
this is not NASA that we're talking about. We're talking about, you know, eminent scientists in the field. We're not. This is before NASA, even in the 1960s. Carl Sagan, Richard Dawkins. You know,
I'm talking about the Webb telescope detecting possible.
Okay.
Now he goes on to say, here's when you know NASA is full of shit. They keep looking into other galaxies and tell us they found this shit. But forget other galaxies. How about focusing on some solar system in our galaxy? If you can tell me there is life on a planet in a galaxy light years from our galaxy, why can't you fucking tell? Why can't you fucking point these telescopes and show us what's going on in our solar system or the ones in our galaxies? And when saying goes, and when, as the saying goes, what a tangled web we weave when we first conspire to deceive. NASA equals never a straight answer.
Fair enough.
Okay. I haven't actually looked into this, but I suspect NASA isn't the only ones that have said this. I'm sure if this is true, there must be other space agencies out there or other, satellite detection agencies.
Something you are forgetting, Mr. Robot. The telescopes are not just looking into a distance; they're looking back in time.
Yeah. Depends how far away, but yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So by the time we get there, there's going to be hot chicks in bikinis. See? So it doesn't matter if it's lava. It doesn't matter if it's lava or water, because at this time, as we're speaking, we're looking at that planet and it could have lava on it. But by the time we get there, there's going to be water everywhere. There's going to be hot chicks.
This planet is only 124 light years away. That means we're only looking 124 years back in time. That's not that long ago. Yeah, a lot can happen in 124 years, but in terms of life existing, it's probably still there if it was there, you know?
Yeah.
If we're talking about thousands of light years, that's a different thing, maybe, or hundreds of thousands. But
actually, yeah, you're right, because the 7,000 could be 7,000 miles, I was thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, I do want to point out, too, that freaking where I got my information came from. The people saying that stuff came from Cambridge, so don't take all that literally. You know how people in Cambridge are. They just, you know what I mean? If it was like a cool university or a college like Oxford.
Cambridge has got its own university?
Well, of course it does. I'm just saying don't take it at face value, because it is Cambridge. Now, if it was Oxford or Harvard or something, you know what I mean? That would be Notre Dame back in the day before they freaking actually had universities and they had to teach kids there. That's education, buddy.
I think Cambridge is the second most popular or most well-known, or most according to league tables, the second best university in the UK.
Oh, is it?
I think so.
Okay, so
Followed by Exeter.
I think I better be careful, because now, if you did a fact check on me, I would probably not really be accurate about the statements I just made. So, just now, I know don't. Now, I do want to talk about my favorite planet too. This is like extra juicy stuff. This is the cool one. This is the one that our grandkids and great grandkids, whichever ones make it there, is going to freaking have a ball with, okay? And I've mentioned it a couple times, but I'm going to mention it again because this is cool shit. And if I could go there, I would have a blast, okay? And it's WASP 193b, otherwise known as Cotton Candy Planet, dude.
Can you say it again? WASP.
WASP 193 B.
This sounds like some Rick and Morty shit.
Dude, this is the coolest freaking planet that has ever been discovered by anybody. Okay, if you could ever imagine a planet that you would want to exist, this would be it. Okay, now it's referred to as Cotton Candy Planet because it is exceptionally large and about 50% bigger than Jupiter. Okay, but it's also very light with a density comparable to that of cotton candy, dude. It is located 1,200 light years from Earth, too. So
we got an image of it. Yeah.
See, what do you think about that, man? Now, I was telling people that what I'm going to do, if I had the chance to go there, I would freaking like get just like a whole outfit made of Velcro. And I would just start bouncing off shit, dude, like a freaking trampoline. And the Velcro would make me stick to stuff. And then whenever I stick, all I'd have to do is push away, fall back, bounce again, and then stick to something else, dude. I'd be like a freaking superhero, man.
There could be a problem there.
It's a long distance away. It's 1,232 light years away. We'd all be dead by the time you get there.
And there's another problem there. Even if it is full of candy floss, as we call it in the UK, who's to say that it's breathable?
Well, he'd have a suit on, Mark, of course.
The
real problem is the surface temperature is 981 degrees Celsius or 1,798 degrees Fahrenheit.
Surely, if it's made out of camouflage sugar, it will all be liquid.
Well,
Well,
the planet
Roger
is.
would be liquid by the time he gets there.
They said that the planet is so light that it has been described as super fluffy.
Get this, 1 year on that planet is only 6.2 days. Can you imagine that?
Oh my God! So that means you would age faster too.
Yeah.
Well, you'll be older. I don't know if you age faster.
Well, eventually, as time goes by, your biology would adjust to the planet.
Yeah.
Wow, it's 1,000 degrees Celsius, mate. I don't know. I thought here was hot, but
you're not going to be. Well, maybe if we get to the point where like we could actually live at least above Venus in the atmosphere, and like floating islands, and handle that temperature, maybe we could come up with metals to where we could make it there, and then stuff like that. But I don't see that happening very soon.
I've got bad news.
Huh.
It's on NASA's website, so can't really trust it's even there.
Yeah, that's true. Now, it's primarily composed of hydrogen and helium, dude. Now, you have to understand that is like a theme park just waiting to happen. Okay.
Well,
Helium.
I would give it a try if I could survive the heat.
Okay, so you guys don't think that going to this planet on vacation is a good idea?
Until we can develop suits that can hack that kind of temperature, I think I'll probably pass. Although, if we could somehow create that here, that would be dope.
That is actually pretty cool. I like those graphics.
Cotton Candy World. It's like somewhere where Rick and Morty would go on a holiday.
Yeah, it would. I think that was probably the best way. That was the best topic to open with the freaking topics on, because that's just cool when you talk about these planets. And and after I learned about the cotton candy planet, I was like, I have to add that in. That's without saying. So that was the thing that I did want to bring up.
Well, you know my stance on the whole extraterrestrial life thing. I'm way past that. Like, I already know life exists out there. I don't need proof. But if we get it, that'd be nice for everyone else's sake. But I think it's what's more interesting is what are they doing and why are they here, in my opinion.
Well, another thing too, while you guys were talking,
I like
it made me think about something, because like I know you guys aren't real big on television and movies and stuff, but you know how I feel about that. I'm all right with it. I have no problems with it whatsoever. Okay, but it reminds me of Halo, the storyline behind Halo, and when Mr. Robot was talking about scientists going around creating life with DNA. It doesn't necessarily mean that had to have been a human or a being that did it. It could have been a drone that just came and literally freaking seeded the entire freaking region with DNA. It
could be easy to do.
Yeah. But where did that drone come from?
It came from freaking the world where these ancient beings would have originally been from. They could have still been there, or they could have
China of space,
Prometheus really hits home on that one. If you ever watch the Predator Alien series, Prometheus freaking really hits home on that, because that's one thing Ridley Scott was really, really keen on. He really picked up on that storyline, and that's why he came out with Prometheus, because they skipped the whole thing. Because in the first episode of Aliens, they showed him going down to the planet, and that guy got that freaking alien stuck to his face, but nobody really paid attention to that big alien sitting up in that freaking that gunnery on the top part. He was a big freaking albino freaking alien.
This is the one where he's like a big white alien, right? Like,
right. And Ridley Scott, when he started getting into it, he wanted to focus in on that and kind of bring everybody back to that part of the story. Because
the funny part of that story to me was that the humans approached it thinking, it'll be grateful if we wake it up and like it'll be friendly to us. And then it turns out, nah, we're just bugs. Like, fuck it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I really thought that was interesting. Now, with that being done, we could go to the judge rules on Google if you want to get to that one. It's up to you guys, but we can stay on this if you want to.
Well, no, I think let's move on. We've got a lot to talk about, so.
Okay. This is actually two parts connected. This has to do with the federal judges that have found Google had violated antitrust laws by unwillingly or willfully acquiring and maintaining monopoly power in the advertising technology market, rounding out a 2-year saga after the U.S. and 8 states filed its initial complaints against the Alphabet-owned company. The court will set a briefing schedule and hearing date to determine appropriate remedies for the antitrust violations per a Thursday filing. Now, the remedies could include forcing Google to break up its advertising business, like selling its Google Ad Manager, which includes the Ad Exchange, and DFP, which is DoubleClick for publishers. The ad server used for publishers is what it says. Now, they actually were talking more into it. I'm not going to read like in all of it, you know what I mean? But if it gets brought up in the conversation, I can pull it out. But with these ad companies or these advertisement tools, this is what really got them was the ADX, Ad Exchange, and the DFP, which is DoubleClick for publishers.
Can you explain to me what that is? I don't even know.
Well, I know a little bit about DoubleClick for publishers. That's the one I was talking to Mark Edworthy about the other day, where like when you go into your email on Gmail, these advertisers actually have the ability to freaking determine if you've clicked on an email and opened it, or if you just let it go by. And they've been.
I guess Google sells them that data.
That is based upon inline images or inline data being linked to the email. So if your email has got a image that's been retrieved from an external source, but not depends on the email clients you use, and most web-based clients, so
right.
Gmail.
So you're saying if the image renders, they can detect?
Yeah, it will just display the image itself. But other emails clients, such as I use KD's Kmail on my workstation, it's by default it doesn't display the images, therefore or it doesn't load the images, therefore this is a bit of null and void in that respect.
It says here Google possessed monopoly power in the general search and general search text advertising markets and violated Section 2 of the Sherman Act by entering exclusive dealing agreements with certain equipment manufacturers like Apple, Samsung, Verizon, and others, which made Google's search engine the exclusive default on smartphones and web browsers. The court found that Google illegally maintained its monopoly in the relevant markets through these agreements.
Yes.
It's about time.
Yeah.
But there's a caveat there. Two caveats, because this is still technically an ongoing court case, and it's potentially the Google, Alphabet, Google LLC will appeal this. This goes back to the sort of Microsoft ruling back in 2002, 2003, 2004. The US ruling in relation to shipping what was at the time Internet Explorer with Windows 98 and XP, and which sort of set a precedent for this, even though Microsoft is, as soon as you install or have a copy of Windows, Internet Explorer is there by default, or Edge now is there by default.
Yeah.
So it's not really worked as far as Microsoft's concerned. So that's set a legal precedent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was you going to say, Rob?
The judge said that it was anti-competitive because they, one, foreclosed a substantial share of the markets, and two, deprived rivals from sufficient user data scale to compete with Google, and three, reduced the incentives of rivals and nascent competitors from investing and innovating in the markets.
Right.
And they paid tens of billions of dollars to maintain exclusive default status, which they deemed to be, antitrust.
Just going back to the Microsoft case, the US ruling on the Microsoft case didn't have any teeth at all in reality.
It's coming back up though, Mark. Do you see this? See on the screen?
Yeah, but
this is just yesterday it came out.
The EU at the time also, or a couple of years later, actually did a similar case, and they did actually force Microsoft up to a point to change the practices, but only within the EEA.
Now, also, I want to point out as well, this is not the only case. Like, there's a separate antitrust case that another judge last year found that Google illegal monopolized the general internet search market. The judge has yet issued remedies on that case, but is expected to do so in the mid-2025, which this article might actually be a lot older. Let me see the date. No, it's April 17th. So sometime within the mid-2025 is when they have it, but they haven't made any remedies to that yet. And that's kind of where I'm going with it too. I don't see them actually making any remedies to the problem here in the United States. They're just
granted. I agree.
Because first of all, these guys are crooks. Any way you want to paint them, they make it out like they're social activists and social justice this and social justice that, and all they are freaking, they're basically freaking. They're feeding off of the advertisers. They don't even care about the people on their platforms. They care about the advertisers.
Who are you referring to when you say they?
Google, YouTube.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Alphabet Inc. Something you've got to consider is
you gotta sit still, dude. You're getting excited again. he did it again. Hold on. Okay, so that was another case too, separate, that I wanted to point out with it. You know what I mean? Now, let me go ahead and get this going. Now, after that, in the AdTech case, the judge was Leonie M. Burkema, and she wrote in her memorandum opinion that the plaintiffs failed to prove that the open web display advertiser ad networks are a relevant market where Google has monopoly power. These networks help advertisers buy display ads across the open web, so they're outside of closed ecosystems like Facebook, Instagram, and Google search.
I apologize. I just had a mitigation. Yeah, but as I was saying,
he did it again. I'm going to get back to reading. Now, the judge did agree that Google violated the Sherman Act by monopolizing and unlawfully tying two parts of the ad tech stack together, specifically DFP and ADX, and that Google is guilty of abuse of monopoly power in the publisher's side ad tech. And then it goes on to say, we won half of this case and we will appeal the other half. And that's from Leanne Mulholland, Google's Vice President of Regulatory Affairs. And she said that in an email statement. And then she went on further to say the court found that our advertisers tool and our acquisitions such as DoubleClick don't harm competition, and we disagree with the court's decision regarding our publishers' tools. Publishers have many options and they choose Google because our ad tech tools are simple, affordable, and effective. You back, Mark?
Yeah. I just realised my dock that this machine's plugged into, which has got an Ethernet connection on it, was getting hot, so I just switched over to Wi-Fi.
Now, before you get started, since Robot was here and heard me read that, what's your take on that? I don't even know if it's good.
I'm a bit jaded with the whole simple and effective, safe and effective rhetoric. Makes me immediately not trust it. I just think if it was so good, why do you have to push it on everyone? Wouldn't you have like organic adoption? I think they should definitely open up the space to some competition, because the more centralized these things get, the more corrupt they get. The more reliant people become on tech and not having alternatives, the more they'll jack up the prices, or the more they'll, introduce more advertising than you want. And, then it doesn't become about the people, it becomes about the platform. So.
Yeah. What's your take on that, Mr. Edworthy?
Google is the major player in the search engine world, and obviously all the AdSense and all the advertising is interlinked to that. Even though there are competition out there, Amazon being one of them, there are major players, and there's but any large company system. Apple's a very good example of this. Apple's provides their own devices, provides their own services, provides their own payment mechanisms, provides their own advertising mechanisms.
Well, this kind of goes back to what I was talking about too, when it says when it comes to the question of what makes cell towers competitive. And I've mentioned this too, and I've never really gotten into it, but that's where a lot of monopolies come from too. And you can see this happening with these big freaking corporations like Google and freaking Facebook and all of them when it comes to monopoly. Like the internet, in the last episode we had, internet's a scam as the freaking theme, and this is kind of where it goes even further with me, because like with these cell towers, they're supposed to be freaking competition among providers so that they can have use of these towers, and it's actually being turned into a monopoly, so that freaking if you freaking don't have a contract to use that tower, then you're not allowed to use it, And
well, in the US, it's a major issue because you've always had four infrastructure providers. In the UK, when it comes to land
you keep bouncing in and out.
Just
one infrastructure provider, but when it comes to cell towers, there's only two major providers.
AT&T is one of them, is it?
In the US, AT&T, Verizon, and I can't remember the other two. Top of my head.
And
Verizon. There's been a lot of Google is a massive political actor. People forget that. Like they donated the most amount of money out of anyone to the Democratic Party. They've been heavily involved in censoring journalists and deplatforming people that speak out against their ideology. Removing people's advertising, ruining people's businesses. They've done all this kind of stuff to people in the past. So just by that alone, I think they should be almost like, banned off the internet. It's criminal, racketeering style behavior.
Yeah, for here in the United States especially, it goes even deeper than that, though. Like what I was talking about with the towers, okay? There was a report that was put out. It was called the Morgan Stanley Report. And it made a claim that on a national basis, in a half-mile radius, 65% of towers have no competitor, and just 15% have more than one competitor. And within a 1 mile radius, 45% of sites nationally have no competitor, and just 35 have more than one competitor. So you're looking at it where freaking they're not really pushing their tower development projects too much. You know what I'm saying? They're not really focusing on it. They're building these towers for specific for specific people, and they're not saying, look, if you want to come use this tower, then you're more than welcome. You know what I mean? So that's that, and what I'm getting at is that's where it all begins. Okay, it starts there, and then you get all of these ad companies that are doing the same shit with Google Plus. Remember, they shut Google Plus down.
It goes even like more insidious than that. Like I've got up on the screen. You know how V was talking about fingerprintless crime. Google has been caught manipulating elections around the world because they found out that they can individually push certain types of feeds to different people to mentally manipulate them into voting a certain way or another, right? And people will pay for this service, and they found they can swing elections by something like 20% of the vote just by feeding them certain types of information. And these guys called America's Digital Shield have started capturing what they're showing to people. And through that, they've been able to use machine learning to figure out like where the manipulation's going, what they're trying to do. They're showing like messed up shit to kids these days to try and mentally manipulate them into all sorts of stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of
Well,
room still for
but
legislative action.
but for the majority of people, TV is still a big consumption, and obviously we know the issues around news broadcasters on TV and media in relation to manipulation.
And see, that's just Mark taking a pot shot at me. He always does.
So here you can see on the graphs the political manipulation that goes on over time. And you can see as soon as Trump got elected, the Democratic bias went straight down. And Google capitulated to Trump. But before the election, they were pushing it hard.
Yeah,
you know?
I don't believe that they capitulated. I just think they're really, really smart and they know how to play the system. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, for sure. They want to get in their good books to make money.
Well, they didn't show up for the presidential inauguration. You got to remember that. All the other magnates did, but frickin' Google did not show up. And the only reason why Zuckerberg showed up there was because he was kissing ass. He knew that he was going to be on the chopping block if he didn't go up there and he didn't suck a little dick. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
But this is
I think he gave like $1 million to Trump after the election, and Trump came up to him and he's like, "Oh, okay, so that's just like $191 million less than what you spent on fighting me in the election," or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's interesting here. You can see YouTube has not even changed. It sort of like jumps all over the place with political bias.
Mm-hmm.
But this is not a new phenomenon. Again, I go back to the point of TV and radio, but newspapers have been doing this for decades, if not over a century now.
Longer. Yeah,
for sure.
Much longer. What's his name? What was his name? Started with an R. He's the one down there in your country, Mr. Robot, that used to own freaking like 90% of
Rupert Murdoch.
Yeah.
Rupert Murdoch, yeah. You know, I remember. See, those were the good old days of conspiracy theory, because if you heard people talking crap, dude, it was always about Rupert Murdoch, man. He was a dirty down rotten pig, you know what I mean?
Well, that's why people started these news agencies and stuff, right? It's because they knew the manipulation value of that, which is way higher than advertising costs and stuff you can get out of it. If you can sell, public interest, public manipulation to a government, that's a cash cow right there. And that's what Google's doing.
Now
it's just easier now and more fine-tuned.
The lawsuits were made against Google by the Department of Justice alongside of California, Colorado, Connecticut, New Jersey, New York, Rhode Island, Tennessee, and Virginia. They all filed suit against Google's alleged use of monopolies over the digital ad markets, and that was in January of 2023. The DOJ, Department of Justice, argued that Google achieved its monopoly through anti-competitive conduct when it purchased DoubleClick in 2008, which then became the backbone of its ad business. Google then bought AdMeld in 2011 to gain more control over the ad market's supply side. The government says this allowed Google to hike up the prices and harm publishers by taking larger cuts of each sale. The trial for this case began in September 2024 and lasted for 3 weeks, with closing arguments presented in late November. Now, that was my reading, but I do want to add to something that Mr. Robot said too earlier. When it comes to when it comes to what was it? Now I have a brain fart. I forgot completely what you said, man.
I forgot what I said.
Yeah, I know.
Related to
While I was reading, it popped up in my head where it when let me
Can you read it again? I sort of lost track. I was doing something.
now the Department of Justice, alongside of California, Colorado, Connecticut, New Jersey, New York, Rhode Island, Tennessee, and Virginia, filed suit against Google's alleged use of a monopoly power over the digital ad market in January of 2023. Now, the Department of Justice argued that Google achieved its monopoly through anti-competitive conduct when it purchased DoubleClick in 2008, which then became the backbone of its ad business. Now, after that, Google then bought AdMeld in 2011 to gain more control over the ad market supply. The government says this allowed Google to hike up ad prices and harm publishers by taking larger cuts of each sale. So they're talking about the actual advertisers, the ones that are the asshole freaking censored the bad guys. These are the advertisers. These aren't about people who are actually like content creators or anything of that nature. These are the ones that are going into freaking Google and YouTube, and they're influencing the way that freaking they allow stuff on the internet. Google was freaking literally taken off the top, is what they're saying. They're hiking up the prices on those guys, and basically monopolizing the industry. So at least that's what it sounds like to me. And
you
Wow.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, you're saying advertisers are the bad guy.
Yeah.
So, as a mom and pop SME business, is now a bad business because they're advertising.
Have you seen a mom and pop shop on YouTube ever?
Okay. But
I mean,
just okay. I was going to say NordVPN. That's sort of killing my sort of argument a bit.
Yeah, that doesn't really doesn't back it up what you're saying there. Like, not a mom and pop organization or anything, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, you don't see when I'm saying advertising, I'm not talking about like it's bad to go on and advertise on the internet. But the thing of it is people who are small mom and pop shops, like you said, aren't getting freaking the ad, the ability to freaking for their stuff to be seen. You know, like we were talking about the other day.
Any person could buy advertising space,
but they're not going to get priority in search engine results. When I go in and I freaking, like Sonia, for example, she has her own freaking shirt shop. Okay, if I go in there and I want to do a search for t-shirts, she's not going to pop up on there. I guarantee you there'll be
how much you want to spend on advertising, bud.
But I guarantee
and you can pay to get like more clicks, but I wonder how organic those clicks are, or if they're like bot generated. I'm not sure. It's hard to prove that kind of thing.
And organic is something that I think is very important, because that's first off, whenever I started streaming, that I learned that was really important, because it's organic reach that really matters. You can turn around, you can go in there and you can freaking hit the monetization button or the promote button or whatever they call it on the platform all you want, but that's not real views, and people don't understand that. You know.
Also, irrelevant of the sort of automated advertising on YouTube, you've seen a lot more content creators actually promoting companies within the videos, so inline adverts.
Exactly.
So, as an example, you just promoted Sonia.
Right. And I put her commercials up in between the videos on a few of mine on the Wonderful.
Yeah, I've noticed. Yeah.
You know, so, and that's what I was telling Mr. Robot, because he wants to do a kind of shop set up to where he can do it for the doofs, because he's got a bunch of doofs. He's got a bunch of doofs over there in Australia that he wants to hook up on getting stuff sold. And I told him, I was like, you set that up and make a short clip where you advertise the products, and I'll put that stuff in the video for you, And,
yeah. As soon as I got some free time, I'll work on that.
Because you need to help the doofs, man.
Well, yeah, I'd like to run my own eventually,
Oh, you have your own what? Your own...
just like my own lifestyle festivals where we meet up, camp out for a month on a farm, plant some food, learn some skills, share skills, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, commune.
Well, it'd be nice if it turns into that. That's the long-term dream. But you got to get people interested in that kind of thing. And the way to do it is to have fun, have a dance, hang out, plant some food. That's what I want to do. Plant food.
Really plant food. I'm just going to sit there and eat freaking food all the time and grow it, man.
Well, I just think it's our food supply has been so toxic the last couple of generations. Someone's got to actually take action and start growing good, healthy, organic food. And
haven't you got local farm shops where you are? Can't you?
We do, but they don't necessarily have organic growing standards, and none of this stuff is really transparent. So it's a bit of a mixed bag. Yeah. And organic food, if you get like certified organic food, it's super expensive. Most people can't afford it. And the only way to like make it more affordable is to make it more available.
We bring back the old butchers, bakers, greengrocers, and candlestick maker shops.
No, I will let both of you know ahead of time next week when we do the politics part, because this is current events. But next week, I am going to be bringing that kind of stuff up when we start talking about these tariffs too, because that's one area where I think tariffs actually start helping. You know what I mean? Because
I've made this argument. I've got a friend who sees the US tariffs has been a danger to society and danger to everything, and I totally disagree with him on and talk about local companies' employment and
stuff of that nature.
It
encourage them to start buying locally and give up on this nonsense of global trade. So, now, you guys want me to read the article for Mark Zuckerberg and his...
Yeah, go
on. I haven't actually looked at this one yet. Carry on.
His wretched behavior. Now, just before Mark Zuckerberg bought Instagram, he identified a now defunct social startup as Facebook's biggest threat. Now, as Facebook considered acquiring Instagram, Mark Zuckerberg also had his eyes on Path, a social media platform he saw as potentially disruptive to Facebook. Old emails revealed during Meta's landmark antitrust case have shed light on how Zuckerberg accessed Facebook's old rival. All right. Now, before Mark Zuckerberg acquired Instagram, he was also deeply worried about a now defunct social media platform, Path. Founded in 2010, Path was seen as a direct challenger to Facebook throughout its 8-year run. The platform, created by Dave Morin, a former product manager at Facebook and Napster alumni, Sean Fanning and Dustin Meru, aimed to create a more intimate alternative to Facebook. Unlike with its more established rival, Path users could only have 50 friends, and this cap was later raised to 150, then 500. At its peak, the app boasted around 50 million users and was valued at $500 million. Google also made a $100 million bid for the app when it was just months old. According to recent emails revealed in Meta's landmark antitrust case, Zuckerberg was preoccupied with both Path and Instagram before he acquired the image-sharing platform in April 2012. In a February 2012 message, Zuckerberg wrote to Facebook's former chief financial officer that Instagram and Path already had created meaningful networks that could be very disruptive to us. I'm getting a bit worried about Path, Zuckerberg wrote at the time. Out of all the new social startups, they're the only ones that goes right to the core of what we're trying to do around identifying and friend sharing. Theoretically, we could survive Foursquare, Quora, Dropbox, Instagram, etc., growing quite a bit. But if Path grows and isn't deeply wired into Facebook, then that would be a big problem for us. He wrote, adding that Instagram was probably next on the list. Later that year, Facebook ultimately ended up acquiring Instagram for $1 billion. Representatives of Meta did not immediately respond to Fortune's request for comments, which was made outside normal working hours. Meta is facing a historic antitrust case. Zuckerberg has been trying to argue in court that Meta did not consider Instagram a rival, but rather more adjacent to what Facebook was already doing. He said on Wednesday that he viewed Path and Google Plus, another new defunct social network, as Facebook's direct competitors. However, the Federal Trade Commission is arguing that Zuckerberg acquired Instagram and later WhatsApp to squash competition and establish an illegal monopoly in the social market. The attorney leading the antitrust case from the FTC, Daniel Matheson, pointed out on Tuesday that Zuckerberg had referred to trying tried to naturalize a competitor by buying Instagram, which he also previously called a rapidly growing, threatening network. Other emails released as part of the trial revealed that the Meta CEO once considered separating Instagram from Facebook over concerns about antitrust litigations. So I'm going to end the reading there and let you guys talk, because I heard Mark making weird sounds in the back.
Maybe back then, the sort of lack of competition might be true, but within the last 15 years, we've seen a massive growth in social media platforms. of the plough. To argue that there is a monopoly as far as what is now Meta Platforms Inc. Is not a valid argument as far as I can see. It might have been true at the time. And fun enough, you were talking about 2012 when they were getting Instagram. 2012 is when Minds became a live service, interestingly. It's also... I found it's also interesting that you talked about Dave Moran.
Yeah.
Moran. We almost called him Moran, but Dave Moran. He was a former product manager at Facebook. He had previous, actually, no, he didn't have previous influence in Napster. There was Shane and Dustin, the other two. But so I'm just wondering, was that path, which is a social media platform I've never heard of until now?
See, that's why you go to the website AOL.com. They got a lot of good information.
I'm just finding it funny. We talking about social media platforms, and we actually get a source from AOL. Once upon a time, a big social media platform pre sort of Facebook.
AOL.com is really good. Like especially if you go into the finance areas and stuff like that, and the banking and everything.
Yes. Yeah.
I want to know how Mark Zuckerberg became the second richest person in the world just through social media. That makes no sense whatsoever.
On IPO. Overinflating on IPO. When Facebook Inc. At the time became an IPO, and when it was floated on the stock market, it was argued at the time that the stock price was really overly inflated.
Mm-hmm.
But why would that be?
Well, just market manipulation.
No, this is a way.
It doesn't really make sense, because like, think about Amazon, right? He's richer than Jeff Bezos, right? And Amazon owns basically the whole internet. Like it builds the infrastructure for the whole internet. So how is this guy who's made a freaking social media app become richer than the dude that basically runs the internet? And mind you, he runs the internet for the military as well. So the only thing that makes sense to me is if he is selling our information on the black market, to governments and so on.
What was Amazon's web service popularity back in 2010, 2012? Wasn't that big?
No, I mean, it wasn't that big.
Yeah, it was only within the last 15, 20 odd years, or 15 odd years, that AWS has become a major player in the hosting.
It got more popular about 10 years ago. I know that.
Yeah.
About 10.
Doesn't Amazon also own eBay?
Well, Amazon's a different story.
eBay is a separate company.
Don't compare Amazon to freaking eBay though, because that's a whole different beast. That's a beast of burden, dude. They're pretty much close to being the Antichrist. When you're talking about stuff, I remember they used to call Sony the Antichrist, but now I think freaking Amazon's taken their place. It's
to elaborate.
Well, when it comes to Amazon, and you want to talk about monopolies, that company has freaking monopolies. Like not only are they selling products on their platform, but they're actually buying up the products before they're being sold, and they're sending them to warehouses so that if somebody wants to buy them, they can freaking buy them, and they already have it in possession. Then they have people who are working for freaking Amazon who are going on competitors' websites like YouTube, or not YouTube, but eBay and all of these other sites, and they're buying up cheap products so that freaking they can prevent freaking people from buying it at that price, so they can buy it, put it in these warehouses, and make their own prices.
But on the other side of the coin, you get eBay also has allowed for warehouses and new old stock merchants to be able to sell products at a much more cheaper price.
Right. And it is more convenient to them now. Like people know that whenever they buy it from, which I'm not trying to advertise for them in any way or form, but it is true. Like when you go to buy merchandise from there, you don't have to deal with that other person. Usually, it's usually already owned by, or it's in their possession already. So.
Well, not all the time. After all, we get a lot of drop shippers on eBay and Amazon. Don't actually have any stock themselves. They would just they just act as middlemen.
You see, the tricky thing and the most devious thing about Amazon is their websites. It's not really they're buying and selling products. They have websites too that are set up separately on their freaking on their network, and like people can go in there and sell shit, and you would honestly think that it was coming from Amazon, but in reality it isn't.
The drop shipping sort of thing. Although Amazon has done this trick with using their Prime mechanism, and by forcing people to pay for, or either pay an overinflated price or pay for shipping directly, usually shipping directly when they make the order, or if they have a Prime account, that payment is it gets sort of merged into the Prime sort of payment, doesn't it? So Prime is subsidizing.
Right. Now,
what do you guys think about the whole Zuckerberg Peter Thiel connection? You guys, you know who Peter Thiel is?
Phil and Peter.
No. So here we go. When Zuckerberg dropped out of Harvard, he and other co-founders moved to Palo Alto, right? Yeah. Palo Alto is well known for its military industrial complex connections. That's where he met Peter Thiel, who is actually the startup, the investor of Facebook, PayPal, Palantir, and basically Palantir. Do you know about that company? They're the ones that are like heavily invested in the United States intelligence community, AI, military platforms, and they've got what, like $2.8 billion revenue per year as of last year. Huge military company. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, what are they doing on investing in social media? You know what I mean?
This goes back to what I was saying, that Mark has such an issue with me against about DARPA and ARPA. This goes all the way back. They've always had a connection between freaking deep state, the internet, and video games. Okay? And it's never changed. It's always been that way. So whenever I mention this to people, they should have no problem with accepting that because it is the truth. It's historically recorded. There's no secret files hidden away from anybody. They can look it up and find out for themselves.
It says here, a document leaked to TechCrunch revealed that Palantir's clients as of 2013 included at least 12 groups within the US government, including the CIA, DHS, NSA, FBI, CDC, Marine Corps, Air Force, Special Military Operations Command, United States Military Academy, etc., etc. So, yeah, they're definitely getting back end. Like, this is how Mark Zuckerberg got rich, is what I'm saying. You know,
Well,
not cat memes on Facebook.
You'll have to provide evidence for that, so I question that one.
He questions my stuff too.
All right, well, let's see.
He questions my stuff too. Now, with your question on who you think, how you think Zuckerberg got powerful, I believe that happened whenever he sold out his original crew to freaking go with what's his face, the dude that started Napster. I think that landed him a whole shitloads of money before they closed Napster down, and that's where he ended up. Things started taking a change for him. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But to me, I think that's where everything actually started changing for him. Because before that, all he was a dope fiend college student that was like getting drunk with his buddy.
Yeah, but we're also talking about the very early days of the social media industry, and he was also the right person at the right time, sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, Jobs was there still. He was still taking care of business and on top of stuff.
Yeah, but he was Steve Jobs didn't do anything within social or what.
Well, they didn't really. I mean, they had MySpace, but you know what I mean. Freaking MySpace actually.
Okay, yeah, MySpace was a big.
MySpace is a good example of what I think is weird about today. Okay, like when you talk about monopolies. Okay, if today was the same way it was back when freaking MySpace fell, then we wouldn't have all this censorship going on. Okay. Because that's why I ended up freaking making MySpace go out of business. He tried to pull the same shit Facebook and YouTube are doing right now, and they closed him down. If you remember correctly.
Okay.
He wanted to be internet police.
Yeah.
And the moment he started doing that, that's when people started backing away and said, "Look, we don't want nothing to do with you."
The other argument on this is that these companies are only, well, one of the major reasons that they.
Oh man, that thing's messed up.
If the consumers.
Your mic is messing up on
you. You're getting too excited, Mark. You need to take a step back. Take a breath, relax. All right. Here it says, the public availability of Facebook's targeting tools means intelligence agencies need no court orders to leverage them. Foreign intelligence services can use them to track and surveil on foreign soil, and even local law enforcement agencies can use them with few restrictions. I actually have some personal experience in that, where some of our parties got shut down by local police before they even happened, just because people advertised on Facebook. They knew exactly where it was going to be, and they squashed it before it even happened.
That's not the issue of Facebook. That's not the issue of Meta or Mark Zuckerberg. That's an issue with you advertising, with the consumer putting on information on to social media.
Mark. No. It is also because, in the back end, he's giving access to these agencies for profit into people's private data.
Again, this isn't private data. If you are publishing stuff on a social media platform, then it's a public. Then you're providing.
Well, it's
a
not
lot of
necessarily public. For example, if you have a private
lot
group on Facebook, not everyone's meant to be able to view that.
A lot of the responsibilities down to the user, down to the consumer. These days, we're seeing people willing to share whatever information they want on social media platforms.
Well, Julian Assange disagrees with you. He says Facebook is a spy machine for U.S. intelligence. Yeah.
Because people will go and create an account and will publish whatever they want, and all their personal information on. How many times have you been on Facebook and seen family talk about their personal problems and pictures of the kids and?
Well, see, I bought into going on the Facebook too and saying that you needed Facebook to be in touch with your family and shit. I bought into that for a while, and then finally, I can't remember how long, maybe 2-3 years ago. I finally said, I'm sick of it, freaking, because you start becoming aware of all this stuff, and you have to make a decision. You can either condone this shit and keep on playing the game, or you can walk away from it, And it's like I said too with YouTube. Okay, I mean, yeah, it is suicide for anybody who's a content creator to just bail out on YouTube if they've built some followers and stuff up on there, but eventually, whenever freaking Rumble and all the other platforms I'm on, like Kick and all that, whenever they start kicking off and they're on their own, I'm walking away from YouTube with a smile on my face, dude. It's not happening because I'm not.
Well, this is where I actually agree with you guys. I think people do need to take personal responsibility for what content they get, what platforms they support, for sure. But on the other hand, when we have malicious actors on the internet, there needs to be, first of all, public understanding about it. Second of all, we need to demand some kind of regulation of it, because if it just continues the way it's going, these companies are all investing in, military grade AI, and
there are regulations for that.
I don't know if you guys remember this.
It's called contractual law. People create accounts. They've got to agree to terms of service agreements. Quite a few of these terms of service agreements, contractual agreements.
No one reads that shit, all right? You sit down, relax.
That's their caveat emptor. That's.
He's going to.
My point is, people didn't sign up for this kind of stuff. Look on the screen. Facebook conducts emotion studies, and it breached ethical guidelines. All right, so they hook you in with these certain things, then they keep changing the terms over time, and all of a sudden you're getting censored for things that you weren't getting censored for before. All right. So what I'm saying is, there's insidious actors out there, and I do agree with you. We need to collectively say no to it, but at the same time, they've breached people's trust. They've acted on their own accord, as an international unregulated agent, and he's swung elections to all sorts of stuff like that. And
that's why
I don't know what needs to be done about it, but it needs to be called out for one.
That's what I wanted. You said it, and I finally was able to remember it. Do you remember the Egyptian Revolution?
Yeah, the Arab Spring.
The Arab Spring. That 100% was given credit to freaking Google for 100%. Yep. They were the ones who went in there and was able to send in information so that all these people could get internet.
And it was coordinated with some kind of black intelligence group that had snipers up on the building, randomly shooting people in the crowd and all sorts of, just to rile them up, So it's totally manufactured crisis. Yeah.
I had that brain part, and when you finally said that popped into my head. And I also want to add in on what you guys were talking about there. When it comes to freaking being terms of service and everything, I mentioned this with like something John even talks about where they keep changing the goalposts. After freaking, and they know it's true. Like, you might be willing to freaking read the first terms of agreement when you first go on and get your account started up, but after a while of them changing the freaking terms of services over time, one right after the other, you get tired of that shit.
It does happen every single week, as far as most platforms are concerned, and every time it does, the consumer is informed.
Well,
generally speaking, through emails.
Here's my question to you. I want to change the terms of services. Do I have the right to freaking send a notification to freaking Google and says, here's the terms of services, and they have to comply to my freaking...
Under EU law, if it's a substantial change in terms of services, then or if it's a substantial change in contracts, then the use of the consumer needs to be notified.
No, I'm saying if I want to change
legal requirement.
If I want to change the goalposts like they do, freaking, I send my copy, my new revised terms of service and say, look, this is the new terms of services that I agree to. And if they I mean, am I allowed to do that?
Well, demand that let's say Google in this case, change their terms of services to suit you.
Right.
No.
So how is it legal for them to do it, but it's not legal for me to do it? It's a two-party agreement here.
But you've got to agree to it, and you can leave the platform at any point. Sorry, robots are images. Yeah, you distracted me.
You're getting attacked, Mark. Terms and services are coming for you.
But you, the consumer, have the choice to continue using that service.
Right.
If you disagree with the terms of service in any way, you can leave. This is an hotel.
Personally, I've never read any terms of services in my life.
You should.
Don't know if I ever will.
Would you get a bank account or a mortgage if you without reading the contractual agreement?
Well, I just wouldn't get a bank account or a mortgage. That's my solution to it.
Or some other live needed. I can't think of anything. Life insurance.
I don't get life insurance. I think it's a scam.
Insurance of any description.
If I die, I die. Big deal.
Oh.
Now here's my here's my question. Okay, here's my question to you.
Off the grid, Mark.
This is the only thing else I want to ask about this. Okay, now the Facebook has been talking about how the competition has actually shifted. Okay, in social media with their rivals. Okay, now they're trying to make the claim that freaking Facebook and WhatsApp has to compete with Chinese-owned TikTok, YouTube, X, and iMessage, and many others. More than 10 years after the FTC review, and clear.
I agree with them.
You know what I mean? Now, my whole question is this: Do you really think that they're having very much competition with any of these platforms other than TikTok or YouTube or X?
I've not looked at the number, but like I said, the social media ecosystem well.
Start over here.
Really, skyrocketed in the last 10, 15 years, 20 years. So there's a lot more competition out there now. Well, there's a lot more alternatives to Facebook.
Yeah. but not really. I mean, like, I would have said that if freaking.
Or specifically Facebook sort of things. But yeah, Minds is a good example.
Oh, that's not a good example. No.
Okay. That provides very similar services to Facebook. Again, I'm not you asking one person there because
don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that in my mean and hateful way towards Bill Altman, the freaking evilest man on the face of the planet. Okay.
More evil than Zuckerberg.
Well, they're both Jews, aren't they?
Well, I didn't want to go there, but you know,
I believe. I think Bill is Catholic.
He's a Catholic Jew.
That doesn't work. That doesn't work.
I figured I'd just say. And sorry, Bill, I didn't. I personally would not call you a Catholic Jew without having some kind of motive behind it. Sorry.
Without having hard evidence.
Well, yeah. I mean, no, that
doesn't
even work either, because at one time I thought freaking he was mind scamming. So now
he's all right. I like him. Have you guys used Nostr before?
Now hold up. What's your take on that? Do you think that they really have any competition, Mr. Robot, before we get on the Nostr?
What do you mean by competition?
Do you think
sort of alternative social media platform?
Do you think any of the other ones other than X and
X is not really a like for like?
The only thing that I think Facebook has over other social media platforms is the marketplace aspect, which I haven't seen in other social media platforms yet. I think it will eventually come up, but that is a great idea that I just haven't seen anywhere else yet. Other than that, I if you're just sharing, text and photos and stuff, there's plenty of alternatives out there for that. There's others that respect your privacy more as well, which I think is more important. And so like Nostr, for example, it's a very secure Web3 future-facing open source platform for that kind of stuff. There's lots of different ones out there now. Hunt around, guys.
Again, within the last 15 years, we've seen a massive boom in alternative.
Yeah, I reckon we should move towards decentralized open source platforms.
No, I would do it, but the only problem is it's so fragmented. You know what I mean? And like, as a person who's freaking into like being a creative content creator, I have to freaking be able to reach different people. You know what I mean? And when you go into these decentralized platforms like Nostr, it's a one-on-one relationship. You know what I mean? And I'm cool with that.
Well, you still get a feed. You can follow people. It's the same as Facebook or Twitter, really.
People can't find you in search.
There is another issue that you've got to consider.
Look you up to find. That's true.
Yeah, there is another issue that you've got to consider. People have created a image for
Getting too excited again.
As an example, I've got content on Minds that dates back to 2019, 2018. And what am I meant to do? Move to another social platform and start up all over again?
Right.
Didn't Bill say there's a way to export all your stuff from Minds and take it somewhere else if you want? I've never looked for it, but apparently it's there.
No. Yes and no. They are becoming GDPR compliant, but it's being slow. But also, you can. I think you can export majority of your content, but you but again, finding a method of importing the content, and a lot of my content is my mind's content. A lot of it's time related. So I've got posts that are related to news stories. So
do you monetize your content?
If I export,
No.
yeah, but if I export that, then it becomes not relevant because that time's got passed.
No,
Wow.
he doesn't
Probably
monetize.
not relevant anymore anyway, right?
And monetization on mine isn't worth shit. Just so you know, like you don't get actual money from that. It's just
there is certain elements in mine so you can get money from.
that's all conjecture.
The tier, the channel-based tier system.
Well, that's conjecture. You don't know that for sure.
Yeah, I do.
How do you know that for sure? Have you made money off those tier systems?
No, I remember I have I have been aiding in the community support area of mine since 2017, let's say, and I have spoken to many users.
Let me kind of fill you in on how things really work, okay? When they go to a system where you have to freaking get money from them by freaking suggesting the platform, you're not getting money, okay? Because freaking people don't really freaking give a shit freaking about you freaking recommending them to a website, for one thing. And then sitting back and waiting for freaking people to give you donations from a freaking platform where they don't want to freaking give money out is just not going to happen either. Okay? Like, people don't say, you know what, he made a really good stream today, or he did a really good article. I'm going to give him $1. People don't think like that, dude. That is the dumbest shit.
Is that true for organizations? Oh, no. I was going to say
Twitch
YouTube,
people do it a lot more than others.
Yeah.
It depends on the platform, I'd say.
And that's for
also there's the issue of money laundering and
you always bring that up.
Yeah, that's the thing anyway. So you can sort of understand why platform.
Well, I mean, I'm thinking more Ponzi scam than I am freaking Ponzi scheme is something that really sticks into my head more than laundering. You know what I mean? Because, well, I guess they could kind of fit in the same category, couldn't they?
Different context. Really.
You send me an envelope with $1 and I'll freaking send $1 to 3 other people, kind of shit. You know what I mean? Like, it was like, you remember those old chain letters where they said you need to send $1 to 3 people or you're going to have bad luck for the next year?
Were they really effective?
I remember that.
Really effective? Oh, what was that American TV Christian evangelist, Peter Popoff? I know, Roger, you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Who was convicted, and I still believe that he's still in. I would say Genesis created a song based upon him or based upon another TV evangelist that did very similar sort of tricks. You remember Genesis, Jesus Who Loves Me?
Yeah. You're talking about
that's based upon that case. That's based on a similar case. But yeah, Peter Popoff, especially, is a well-known actor actor in this, and he has been convicted a few times.
Well, with me, I mean, it just the whole atmosphere when it comes to these social networks that's being created, in my opinion, seems to be more of a freaking bad freaking environment that encourages, a toxic environment for one thing, which is where freaking people go on these networks and they freaking cannibalize one another. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you can't blame that on the platform. That's just people.
Yes, that's usually the
and
consumer. Yeah, you can blame the
Well, that's
platform.
just a side effect of free speech.
they create the environment by the freaking kind of things they do on that platform, especially when it comes to monetization. And now they have a lot of pay-to-play services, and that's the one thing that people are starting to notice about Minds, about how they really aren't a free speech platform. They're really a pay-to-play platform.
I disagree, because you can still publish content on Minds without, as long as you stay within their terms of services agreement, which is fairly.
Views when you have to pay for freaking the reach, though, you know what I mean, and all that stuff, and now they don't freaking give you any of those cool freaking tokens whenever you share content.
They promote the boost mechanism, because that's a money spinner for them. But there's other ways. I've always said this. You could publish your content on your channel and in various related groups. There's many ways of creating reach. You don't have to actually use their predetermined or the platform's preferred mechanisms to create reach. I mean, it's just down to good marketing. I mean, my old my old joke about sticking a poster in your local grocery store.
Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know. I'm trying to pull up the freaking British Army radio waves drone. Did you guys ever freaking get any information on that? Or
no, I only had a look through that Telegraph report that you.
We should bring up the video of it. Is there a video?
No. Well, the only ones that have the video of. Actually, they do have a few videos. British soldiers
take down drones for them.
Yeah. UK successfully tests radio wave weapon to neutralize drone. Yeah, go ahead.
Sounds like a bit of propaganda, but I'm sure it happened.
Well, I mean, it's actually pretty cool, and I could picture the UK being the ones to do it.
Because we've got a long history in
this kind of technology.
What is the company? The Telegraph reports talks about UK government, even though it's not going to be the UK government, because it's going to be done over several years now, and our current government has only been in for 8 months now.
Now, before you want to play that video, you want me to read the article?
Sure.
Okay. Now
I don't even know if this is
one video. One thing that the article doesn't state is who actually manufactures this.
Let me see. This one is the one I found, because the first one came off of the Telegraph, and they have this really bad way of always trying to screw people over to pay for their services on Telegraph. So I got this one off of Gov UK, which is off the government. So it says British soldiers take down drone swarm in ground-keeping use of radio wave weapon. Now, British soldiers have successfully tracked targeted and defeated swarms of drones in the latest trial of a new directed energy weapon developed in the UK. A UK-made invisible radio wave weapon knocks out drone swarms for the first time. Weapon has potential to help protect against drone threats as nature of warfare changes, and the project supports more than 135 highly skilled jobs across the UK. Now, the trial.
Well, since it's creating jobs, it sounds totally all right with me.
Yeah, hell yeah. That's what I was thinking when seeing that.
One thing I've got to criticise is energy weapon. It's sound waves energy.
This is actually.
Imagine if V was here, he'd be going bananas right now.
Yeah, this is actually cost efficient too, because the weapon or the bullets or whatever or the stuff that's needed for it is cheaper. It's cheaper than what freaking it would cost to use missiles and stuff. So
I know he's saying the ammo. If it's just hand waves,
yeah, I know. That's what I was getting ready to say. I said that and then I stopped
no ammo
because it's supposed to be radio.
Some of those drones cost like $200 million and stuff. So
yeah.
Now, the trial was completed at a weapons range in West Wales and was the largest counter-drone swarm exercise the British Army have conducted to date. The weapon system demonstrator is a type of radio frequency directed energy weapon, RFDEW, and has proven capable of neutralizing multiple targets simultaneously with near instant effect. The UK government has invested more than 40 million squiggly marks.
You mean the UK taxpayer?
Yeah, well, that. Yeah,
again, you know my.
It's in the terms of service, Mark. You know, you signed up for it at birth.
Yeah,
your fault.
You shut your mouth. You freaking know you signed that freaking terms of service agreement. So
I didn't sign it. I was born into it.
Oh, so your mama and daddy did.
They were born into it.
Well, I mean, somebody had to buy. You guys do have birth certificates, right?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so I want to double check. Somebody had to sign. Somebody had to sign.
Okay. If you use that argument, then yeah, okay, fair enough.
Okay, so the UK government has invested more than 40 million squiggly signs in RFDEW research pounds. In research and development to date, supporting 135 highly skilled jobs in Northern Ireland and the southeast of England. It uses high frequency radio waves to disrupt or damage critical electronic components inside drones, causing them to crash or malfunction. At an estimated cost of 10p per shot fired, if developed into an operational service, it could provide a cost-effective complement to traditional missile-based air defense systems. RFDEW systems can defeat airborne targets at ranges of up to 1 kilometer and are effective against threats which cannot be jammed using electronic warfare. The successful trial comes as drone swarms are increasingly seen in use in frontline combat in Ukraine. UK Defense Intelligence estimates that last year Ukraine had to defend against attacks from more than 18,000 drones. With national security a foundation for the plan for change, the government is significantly increasing the promotion of MOD's equipment procurement, spend on novel technologies, spending at least 10% more from 2025 to 2026. It follows the announcement of the biggest sustained increase in defense spending since the end of the Cold War, as the UK will spend 2.5% of GDP on defense by April 2027.
Wow.
That's that number is way above what has actually been spent. Something like 1.5, 1.7.
I think he's lying.
Wow. That we know of. Could be way higher.
That's the government's manipulation of our numbers.
Yeah, somebody's got to pocket some of that.
Wow.
That article doesn't say who actually is producing it.
Now, it says Sergeant Myers said RFDEW is an exciting concept. We found the demonstrator quick to learn and easy to use, with improvements on range and power, which could come with further development. This would be a great asset to layered air defense. Protecting national security is the foundation of the government's plan for change. Now, this plan for change sounds a little bit awkward. Is that kind of like some kind of woke program you guys have over there?
Say that again.
Government's
must be some kind of organization. It sounds deceptive. The name.
Sorry. Say that again.
It's protecting national security is the foundation of the government's plan for change, and the development of RFDEW systems could help to protect the UK from identified drones at security-sensitive areas such as defense bases.
Well, there's the argument that over the last 10, 15 years, we've seen a real drop in armed force and spending and recruitment, a major sort of reduction in, and I know the army is sort of panicking because they haven't got enough money, nor have they got enough troops. If they have got enough money for good recruitment, and also with all the woke sort of thing, the armed forces have really screwed themselves up.
So are they going to have a plan for change, which includes military force? Is that, I mean, because that's kind of what it sounds
well, like. It says here the plan for change is a government program to grow the economy of Europe, of I think the UK, and growing the economy, and NHS fits into the future, safer streets, opportunity for all, and making Britain a clean energy superpower. Are part of our decades-long national renewal built on the foundations of a stable economy, secure borders, and national security.
I don't usually swear, but that is bullshit.
That's just.
I will say that for once.
Shit I've ever heard in my life.
If you've seen how this government is destroying our economy at this present moment, and
flooding with immigrants,
and if you know the history of their natures and how money is just pushed into their natures and how it's been swallowed up and on middle managers and borders.
They say the plan is to raise the living standards in every part of the UK.
Yes.
Building homes, hospitals, putting police back on the beat.
We'll see a recession.
Okay, now
giving children the best start in life with woke ideology, homegrown energy, whatever that means.
Arguably, if it wasn't for the Christmas consumer price index, the consumer buying in Christmas, we would have seen a recession by January.
I better be careful because I mean, like with what we've just introduced to market, where he could turn into the freaking to like the first freaking English sniper.
Yeah, I won't go that far.
We've got like shitloads of them over here, you know, just killing everybody left and right and shit. But I haven't heard of any yet that came from England.
He'd be fully justified in his actions, I think.
Yeah.
Something you mentioned actually that tests for this weapon was conducted in Wales. And it reminded me that a lot of military testing has been conducted in Wales, and it reminded me of the Dam Buster Bunsen bomb.
What I'm thinking is, if this thing can fry the circuitry of a drone at 1 kilometer, imagine what it could do to a person. You know what I mean? This is basically microwaves.
Here's an idea for you, Mr. Robot. Me and Mark was talking about this before we started, okay? Now, you remember all the shit that started over those drones that were flying over frickin' Washington and all that area, New York, I believe.
And military bases as well, yeah.
And now all of a sudden they're coming out with this article, you know, well that was only like 4 months ago.
Again, I argued, I think it was a Fixing Some Photo episode that we were talking about this, and I pointed out that Amazon has been doing a lot of testing and development in relation to their drone parcel related drone.
Well, I mean, I don't see the U.S. military allowing them to fly their drones next to military bases. I mean, they'll let them get away with some shit, don't get me wrong, but like that's a serious offense here in the United States. Like, you don't fly drones around, or unidentified drones around freaking a military base. That just doesn't fly.
It might have been
totally covered that up
as far as the it might have been unidentified as far as the public was concerned.
Right.
The DOD.
Remember the reports when it first started? They were like, these things are faster than we can track. We can't shoot them down, you know, like they were detected over military bases. And then Trump was like going, yeah, first day in office, I'm going to tell you what the drones are. And then he gets into office and he's like, oh, no, it's just nothing. It was just nothing. You know, random people flying their drones. That's all it was. That's bullshit.
Now, I've even got conflicting stories over that because, like, I've heard people say that Trump said he was going to shoot him down the moment he gets into office, too. So, like, you hear a lot of different stories when it comes to that.
It was a big cover-up. It was actually aliens, guys. That's what it was.
Well, I think this was a military project because even back whenever Reagan...
you know why it's not? You know why it's not military? Because they've had UAP technology for 50 years and they've kept it under wraps. Why would they all of a sudden just fully expose themselves? That doesn't make sense. It's a top secret military black project. They wouldn't just suddenly expose themselves for no reason.
Why can't it be both? Why can't it be a commercial test and a military test?
It could be a social experiment on top of that. I mean, it could
Why wouldn't they do that out in the desert? Why would they do it over populated areas? It doesn't make sense.
They want to see the human response so that they can freaking collect that data on that, see how we respond.
Notice how you said human response.
Right.
That's insinuating that it's a non-human element that's doing it. Busted.
No, we are doing social experiments to find out
Let me tell you the truth, right? So, like, before that whole drone fiasco started, literally a month before that, my remote viewing group came out and they predicted it was going to happen because they were in contact with the ETs and they said, "Yep, we're going to show ourselves, but this is not the solution because it's not going to achieve the desired effect, which was disclosure." Right? Sure enough, it happened, and sure enough, the people just wrote it off as a drone, especially the media. They were so happy to say, "Oh, it's drones, straight away without even knowing. They were interviewing military people and they're going, "Oh, what is this?" And the military people would straight away go, "Oh, it's drones." They're like, "But you can't detect it. You can't find out who's launching them. So how do you know they're drones?" Yet the prevailing narrative all over the world was drones, even though they couldn't prove it.
Yeah,
now,
but
why would they do that? Why would they do that? Because in the past they always said UAP, UFO. That's what they called them. But now all of a sudden it was drones.
At the time, Amazon was given permission in the UK to prototype the logistics drone devices.
Yeah.
As well.
Do you remember the Iranian mothership story?
At the same time.
Yep, I do remember that. Actually, the mothership was supposed to be off the shore, and all the smaller drones were coming out of it.
Now, don't you think that's a peculiar word to use, mothership? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it was supposed to be China.
Strange.
It was supposed to be a Chinese drone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which now, the best I could find out of this is that they said about who was in charge of manufacturing them. It says the MOD is working with a range of industry partners to deliver powerful future RF DEW capabilities for UK forces.
So we're talking about people like Lockheed Martin and those other defense contractors.
Yeah, and they said Thales, which led the development of the RF DEW demonstrator, employ around 100 highly skilled engineers and manufacturing staff in Northern Ireland on the project.
Who is actually employing them?
It says Thales.
Hey, sorry?
Thales. That's all they say. Thales.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Need to know a bit more information about the company that's actually employing them.
I could almost bet you they're doing that on purpose.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and then it goes on to say Ireland manufacturing staff in Northern Ireland on the project. So, and then it
mind you, as even you do it quite often.
I'm glad they cut you off. They said okay.
Create shorthand. We'll create a shorthand for companies. You call Meta Platforms Inc. Meta. You use the term Meta all the time, while for the Meta Platforms Inc.
Yeah.
So this isn't unusual.
This drives you nuts, doesn't it?
It does. It does.
I love it. Yeah.
Love what?
I love freaking whenever I say stuff like calling it just Meta, and it irritates the shit out of freaking Mark.
It's not Meta, it's Meta Platforms Inc.
Yeah, I know, but that's what I'm saying. Like, instead of me saying
they don't own the term, you know. Lots of things are Meta.
I know. That's what drives them nuts.
Yeah,
see, that's what drives them nuts is because I don't distinguish that. I just say Meta, like they own all Meta. You know what I mean? That's what it sounds like.
Nah.
If you have to look at any of my posts online, if you have to look at any of my posts or mines, whenever I reference a company, I will use the full title, and generally, if they're a subsidiary company, I will name also this parent company, the full title.
Okay, I found out who's doing the stuff. It's Nigel McVeigh, MD of Thales Integrated Airspace Protection System, said Thales continues to be at the forefront of this pioneering technology, and we are proud to continue the research and development in this sector alongside our partners in government. So it's Thales Integrated Airspace Protection Systems. It was right down at the bottom, too. Fucking bastards. Got to put all the important information at the bottom, you know what I mean? It's like, come on, dude, seriously. Yeah. You couldn't have said that somewhere, you know? Well, they wanted to sign their name. Like, I really don't think people should be proud of that and then try to say frickin' that they're creating jobs by creating something that's going to kill frickin' people.
Yeah. So, it's a product that is going to be of use.
Don't get me wrong. I'm okay if they're saying they're defending their borders and shit like that, or you know, but you know.
But it's funny, talking about that. It's funny you mentioned Ukraine because more than likely we will just chuck it to the Ukrainians or the next war, and without expecting any sort of payment for it.
I was kind of thinking that too, actually. You actually beat me to the draw on that one, because I guarantee you a big percentage of that stuff or those drones are going to go to Ukraine. I guarantee you, dude.
That sounds like it. Sounds like they're planning on it.
Yeah. Even though the war is, I would say, is on its last legs anyway. Unless Ukraine, the Ukraine's leader, unless he just wants to draw it out.
Well, most likely he will draw it out because it's...
I mean, Russia's already said has given them an ultimatum to given them a way out of the war.
They have to surrender that. What was it?
Well, did you see Russia just started bombing Kiev like yesterday?
Okay.
They launched some of those hypersonic missiles into Kiev.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter if they take down the drones; they can hit anywhere in the country with bloody nukes if they want.
Now, from what I've read from this, though, these are supposed to actually be just as, if not more, effective than ground-to-air freaking missiles, ballistic missiles. Now, those are some serious freaking weapons. Okay, like Israel has the best of them. Whenever the missiles were coming in at Israel, they were shooting them right out of the air, dude. Maybe one or two of them actually hit.
Used to. Now they don't. They can't anymore. Not with the hypersonics. They can hit like 1 in 20 maybe, but most of them get through.
The Patriot missiles is the ones that I remember back during Desert Storm and all that. They used to have them, and like even during Desert Storm, man, freaking those Patriot missiles, freaking. They fired them suckers. They fire those old outdated missiles up from Iraq, man, and they took them down, big as shit. So,
Well, do you remember that attack that was it Iran that shot missiles at Israel, and they shot like. I can't remember how many thousands of missiles at a time, and they just overwhelmed their system.
Who's that?
And the only thing that they hit was their own people.
You got to share your audio.
Well, it was more of a show of capability, I think, than an actual attack.
No, it just demonstrated that Iran couldn't hit a duck in a. Couldn't hit a barn couldn't hit a barn.
See, if you was an American, you would be able to freaking say cool stuff, like
okay,
you know what I mean, like, and Mr. Robot does that too. You guys like take sayings that are supposed to be American and you just like ruin them and shit. He said that one about if it looks like a duck. The actual saying is, if it walks like a duck and it talks like a duck, it's a fucking duck.
And it flies like a duck.
Yeah. Okay. Now, the broadside of a barn is what Mark Edworthy is. They couldn't hit a freaking a beam off or something off of a broadside of a barn. But you guys are horrible. I swear, you British and colonials. You know.
Excuse me while I go piss like a racehorse.
yeah, there you go, dude. See, I love it. Love it. Get with it. Okay, who wants to talk about the Catholic Pope?
All right, we can do it. Or should we save it for next time? It's been a long stream.
Well, I mean, he's dead.
We might as well do it now because it's not going to be news next time.
Right. And I can pop in the link and just do the videos because there's only 2 videos on YouTube to share.
The 2 I gave you.
And I can get it in, and it's a British chick. I know how much Mark likes British chicks. She's all sophisticated and
I like British chicks.
Okay. So let me screen share real quick, and I can do the audio and everything, and we can have it set up to where it looks all hot and sexy because she is a sexy mama. Look at that, Mark.
I can remember who it was now.
Okay. Let's make sure that it's viewable. Can you guys see that?
No, I can still see your.
Yeah. I gotta.
Are we looking at Mr. Robot's screen?
Oh, okay. Yeah, he's got it.
I'm unsharing it. Hold on a second. There we go.
Okay. Now, can you guys? Is that it?
No, we still see. No, we see me.
Okay. Let me come back in here and reshare again real quick, and this will have the audio too. So, can you see that?
No, not yet.
What the hell? They are just really being assholes.
The aliens.
Yeah, them too.
Who's that homeless guy on the stream?
Oh, he got so bad, dude. I had to finally just stop it. Like it was.
Look at his face.
Mr. Robot.
Sorry, I just captured you at a funny moment there.
Okay, let me. All right. So, you guys have anything to say there?
Well, I agree with them on the point of Lamy. A small digger at the UK government is full of the cabinet's full of idiots. But okay. I don't know.
I found it interesting that he was the first Jesuit pope in history, and traditionally the Jesuits weren't meant to be popes. They acted more as like the military arm of the Pope, and historically their mandate was that they wouldn't. They wouldn't adhere to any laws other than the God's will, which was basically what the Pope said. And so
also,
don't know what to make of that, but it was interesting.
The second Pope that wasn't a European.
Yeah.
The second Pope that he was Latin America. It was not Venezuela. Can't remember where he was from, but the second Pope in the history that wasn't a European.
Now, I could be wrong about this, but I remember too, Mr. Robot's good at history, so he can correct me on this if I'm wrong. But the Jesuits actually had a lot of turmoil in history concerning the Orthodox Catholic Church, because I believe they were expelled from the church at one point, and then really it was a miracle that they were actually accepted back into it because of their beliefs. But isn't that right, Mr. Robot?
I'm not sure. I vaguely remember that, but I'm looking it up now.
Like back during the Middle Ages, I know they had a falling out with the actual church because of their belief systems, and they actually they were actually discommunicated from the church. So it is a miracle that
1767.
Yeah.
The Jesuits were expelled from the church in 1773 when Pope Clement issued a brief Dominus officially suppressing the Society of Jesus, which was what the Jesuits were called. This decision followed a series of expulsions from various countries and their colonies starting in 1759, including Portugal, France, Naples, Malta, Parma, and the Spanish Empire, and Austria and Hungary in 1782. The suppression was due to a combination of factors, including political tensions with European monarchies, accusation of involvement in politics, and conflicts over the Jesuits' role and influence within the Catholic Church.
Which brings us on nicely to the two big white elephants in the room.
Yeah.
First, his views on abortion, which was against the views of the Catholic Church, and he also on the Gospels, and his views on gay or LGBT rights, or recognising gays.
Yeah.
And mind you, he was also bum buddies with the WEF, as far as I know. He did a talk at Davos at one point. So yeah, it's unknown what level of involvement he had with that whole globalist agenda. Do we know who the new pope's going to be yet?
No.
They have to have that. They were talking about it in the video. I forgot the name of it, but
5 days after the funeral.
They gather together, and all the people that he selected to be on his cabinet have to decide who the next pope's going to be.
Yeah, but it's been argued that everybody that is not elected. What's the word? What's the more appropriate word? Not elected. Selected. Yeah. Have fairly what we would call woke views.
Yeah.
Modernist views, let's to say.
I'm surprised neither one of, or at least Robot, I'm surprised you guys didn't even talk about the Knights of Malta.
Okay, we're really looking at modern
How is it related to this?
Jesuit.
Yeah, how is that related to modern day? Okay.
Jesuit order. That's actually something that I thought was pretty interesting when I did my research.
Aren't they more Masonic?
Yeah, kind of. They're more piratey than what they are Masonic. You could say, yeah, they are Masonic, but they do have their roots in the pirates too. Like they're more piratey. They rebelled against the Catholic Church and basically became an organized pirate ring.
I haven't been to Malta, but I've been to some of the islands around there, and I actually got to go investigate some of the old castles of the Knights Hospitalier and stuff like that. I took some good photos of it too. And they were like tangentially related to the Crusaders, right?
Yeah,
Templars. Yeah.
Yep.
The Templars, yeah.
Very, very interesting. And then what's his name? That you got? I keep forgetting his name. He's the one that came. Don Brown. You know,
Dan Brown.
Dan Brown. Yeah. He made those books, man, and everybody knows about freaking the Templars and the freaking Knights of Malta. And
the issue that is going to happen is because France has created a sort of precedent when it comes to things like abortion and gay rights. Then and more than likely we are going to see a more progressive Pope coming up. That's going to really, that could potentially do real damage to the more orthodox communities, especially in Latin America and in Africa.
Well, I mean, how much more progressive or woke can you get than freaking meeting with LGBTQ or a week before you die, dude?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like his last meetings involved meeting with homosexual organizations.
I know.
I've heard a few people say this is potentially the last pope, or like, you know, the Catholic Church is in decline and stuff like that.
If you want a conspiracy theory, according to certain sects, he has ushered in the end times. This is the beginning of the Book of Revelations.
Well, that's been around forever. That's why Brown.
Yeah, that's,
this actually fits up with his book perfectly, because you remember the last freaking movie he came out with, don't you? Where freaking it was all about the Catholic Church and the attempt to assassinate the Pope. It all fits into his book. Now, one thing too.
Some would call that karma.
One thing that stood out to me too, if you take a look at him now, it could be me. I understand he is 88 years old, or he was.
Yeah.
Right? But
see how puffy his face was at the end there?
That's what I'm getting ready to say. That doesn't he look a lot older than what he did when he actually took the freaking position as Pope? Man, he looked actually like he was still virile. You know what I mean? He actually
people
well, see, that's a clear sign of circulatory failure.
That's
when you get hypertension, that's when you get all like edema, they call it. It's when like water goes into your tissues, and he's clearly got that in his face. You can see it.
Well, his
jowls got a lot bigger.
How long ago was it that he became president? Or Pope?
When did
like maybe 15 years ago?
Wasn't that long ago, actually?
I mean, he had black hair and everything, dude. He was all hip and cool and stuff. I remember when they were showing footage of
2013. Yeah, I thought so. It was 2013.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is like within a 12-year difference. He had gone from what he was into what you saw there. I mean, it didn't even look like the same person, to be honest.
But do you look exactly the same as you did 10 years ago?
Yeah, I do.
Well, you've been
better than what I did 10 years ago.
Drinking off the water of life or something.
Women love me. Women love me, dude. Like you should see it whenever I talk to them.
I mean, I had a few less grey hairs and less bags underneath my eyes 10 years ago.